on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Perhaps it is the last dance edition, Dom.
Nobody puts baby in a corner, Crudy. Fancy Brian on the board, our fair audience. Happy days to us all. What are you talking about, man?
The most important headline of the day, as far as I'm concerned. Aaron Rodgers is returning to the Green Bay Packers.
See, I think Brian told us that a long time ago.
Well, he and Devontae Adams, the very fine receiver, who's in his own contract negotiations, Dom, they both sent out sort of this conforming tweet, and it was a picture of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. They're knuckling up, and it was hashtag Last Dance.
Oh,
the implication being Aaron Rodgers is coming back to win one more Super Bowl, and then on to the Wizards apparently.
Big news in Wisconsin.
That is absolutely big news in Wisconsin. My first news director, Sean Dwyer, who last time I checked was still doing the news at ABC in La Crosse, but he taught me as a young Cub reporter, Dom.
Yeah.
There could be a meteor headed for the earth. But first, the Packer news.
See, that's always been funny to me, because I always thought that as a consumer of news, when you watch the television, for example, they start out with what the news is, and then they go to weather, and then sports would be at like 20 minutes past the hour. Well, to my understanding, if you start with sports, that means there's no news. Just saying.
If you don't start with the Aaron Rodgers update, man, the crowd turns vicious. I'm telling you. They want their updates, and there are significant updates out of Titletown. Packers going to the Super Bowl. Heard it here first.
Oh, okay, man.
Well, with Aaron Rodgers back, how could we see any other outcome? But Dominic, perhaps the audience tuning in for something other than Sports Talk Live.
Sports Talk Live.
Adam Kinzinger, the congressman from Illinois, Republican, the newest addition to the January 6th commission.
Yeah.
And sort of a late edition, right before the trade deadline, Dom, because this commission's kicking off tomorrow. Opening day.
4 officers testifying tomorrow. I do have Kinzinger's statement appointed by Pelosi. Here's what he said on his Twitter feed from yesterday. Quote, "For months, we have searched for answers and what process we should use to get them. For months, lies and conspiracy theories have been spread, threatening our self-governance. For months, I have said that the American people deserve transparency and truth on how and why thousands showed up to attack our democracy, and ultimately what led to the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol complex on January 6, 2021. Self-governance requires accountability and responsibility. My faith requires the same of me. Truth is necessary for order, and that's what I will do. Let me be clear. I'm a Republican dedicated to conservative values, but I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And while this is not the position I expected to be in or sought out, when duty calls, I will always answer. This moment requires a serious, cleared-eyed, nonpartisan approach. We are duty-bound to conduct a full investigation on the worst attack on the Capitol since 1814 and to make sure it can never happen again. Today, I was asked by the Speaker to serve on the House Select Committee to investigate January 6th, and I humbly accepted. I will work diligently to ensure we get to the truth and hold those responsible for the attack fully accountable."
How dare he, says Kevin McCarthy.
Come on.
Rhino. They're going to call him a rhino, Dom. Kinzinger, he's not a real Republican. He's always been an anti-Trumper. Of course, he's very conservative on a number of topics, but the truth
I mean, you could be Ronald Reagan, and if you didn't support Donald Trump, they throw you overboard. This new whatever party this is, it's already happening, though, Crudy.
I don't think. Just for a side note,
yes.
Reagan wasn't married to the truth, Tom.
Well, I understand that,
sort of a secondary.
But Reagan is held
Reagan.
up by guys like Scott Walker and other Republicans as basically the deity to which all conservatives must bow.
Oh, it's mostly just Scott Walker.
Aside from that, I don't know about that, man. But aside from that, pick any conservative icon who fulfills every conservative value they have claimed to have held over the course of this party. And if they said something against Donald Trump, they will be thrown overboard. From the Hill, quickly, reporters asked McCarthy in the Rose Garden of the White House about the panel established to investigate the insurrection, specifically about Republican concerns about the lack of GOP participation on the committee. Cheney and Kinzinger are the only Republicans on the committee. McCarthy withdrew his appointments after Pelosi blocked 2 of his picks. Here's what he said. Who is that? Adam and Liz? Aren't they kind of like Pelosi Republicans? McCarthy said prior to an event to mark the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Acts. So yeah, it's already starting. Rhinos. I mean, if you invoke Pelosi when referring to a Republican, I'm not clear that you could be any more insulting in conservative circles.
Well, you could call him a Trumpster. Real quick, let's play some of the sound of the speaker, Nancy Pelosi. Let's do it for the people. Fancy Brian, going to need your help. Going to start with cut number 30 on ABC this week. The Capitol Rights Select Committee and the Republicans, they can't handle the truth. Cut 30.
We do not come into our work worried about what the other side, who has been afraid of this. Maybe the Republicans can't handle the truth.
You tell them, Nancy.
Yeah.
You need her on that wall. You want her on that wall.
They were in danger. Grave danger? Do you know of any other kind?
Cut number 31, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, her hopes for Kinzinger.
He and other Republicans have expressed an interest to serve on the select committee.
Now, we understand from the reporting we've read, Tom, got sort of contentious between her and the minority leader, McCarthy. Let's hear her take on it. The Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, cut 32, please.
I wanted to appoint three of the members that Leader McCarthy suggested, but he withdrew their names. The 2 that I would not appoint are people who would jeopardize the integrity of the investigation.
And might also be witnesses and perhaps defendants at some point.
Banks and Jim Jordan. And I have seen other comments on this. Should Nancy Pelosi at this point, already appointing Kinzinger and Republican Liz Cheney, reach back out to those other 3 that she did not reject and give them another offer, another chance to say no, perhaps. I know we're getting a little short on time.
Pelosi Republicans than you'd have Democrats on the panel, Tom. I think we're fine with 2.
I think it'd be just as fine. Again, I know it's short time, and I would actually kind of agree with this. I can't imagine that McCarthy would allow them, quote unquote, to accept that appointment, but at least the offer would be there and be another opportunity for the Republicans to just show how biased and scared they are of the facts on this case.
My understanding, McCarthy may endeavor to punish Cheney and Kinzinger by removing them from their committee assignments. But of course, ironically, Nancy Pelosi would have the power to hand them back their committee assignments. That'd be galling, wouldn't it? More Speaker Pelosi. I think she outflanked McCarthy on this one. What's next? Cut 33.
Will you be appointing more Republicans to the committee like Congressman Adam Kinzinger?
That would be my plan.
So when will that be announced?
Perhaps after I speak to Adam Kinzinger.
Well, looks like she carried through. Woman of her word in that regard, Tom. Kinzinger has joined the panel. Her message for critics, Speaker Pelosi, cut 34.
I'm not concerned about any threat from the Freedom Caucus. We get those every day of the week.
Of course, the Freedom Caucus imploring Minority Leader McCarthy to somehow get rid of Nancy Pelosi and her authoritarian rule.
Now, a little bit more from Pelosi. This on the topic of coronavirus and the mask debate on the Hill. Just so we can clean up the Pelosi, cut 35, please.
That is a decision of the House, the Capitol physician, and he will give us his recommendation about it.
And one more from Pelosi, mask rules in the House, cut 36.
We should mask, but in terms of officially for the House floor, that's up to the Capitol physician.
We'll talk more about the pandemic and perhaps mask mandates and vaccination mandates. We'll talk about that in the next hour, Dom. But the Capitol Select Committee, the January 6th committee, it begins hearing testimony tomorrow, Dom. And these Republicans, they've been working awfully hard to tell you this, it's so partisan, nothing important, nothing
worthwhile
to could possibly come out of this.
Move along.
All is well. Yes. Trying very hard to convince us that all is well and there's nothing to see here, Dom. But, the testimony, the video, it's all going to be very graphic, very violent, and it's going to be available for the American people. And that's going to be very troubling. Republicans don't really want to have this conversation, do they, Dom? I don't think they do.
Tomorrow, Crudy, it will start. 4 police officers, 2 from the Capitol Protection Squad and 2 from DC Police, set to provide the first public testimony before the Select Committee, expected to testify about their experiences of both physical and verbal abuse on January 6th as they tried to protect the Capitol from a swelling horde of demonstrators determined to stop Congress's efforts to certify the Electoral College results and declare Biden the next president. So law and order types, back the badge, those guys are going to be testifying tomorrow. I'm positive all the thin blue line folks will be out there in support of those brave officers.
Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, perhaps their last dance as Republicans, Dom, the Pelosi sort. Aaron Rodgers coming back to the Packers. That is great news for all people that love the Packers. I'm wearing my Packer hat. See it, Dom.
I see it.
I suspect Devontae Adams also coming back for one last dance. Dominic, it's the last dance edition of the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's a Monday, back to work, all of you. Just keep listening. We'll have fun. 844-967-2789. More Devil's Advocates. Welcome back.
You can't handle the truth.
You, Aaron Rodgers. RELAX.
You done messed up, Aaron.
She was 27 years old. She took the gun that my grandfather had given her for self-defense. She never got to see her son grow up to be anything. Because she had easy access to a gun, I've been robbed of that relationship.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. With safe gun storage, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The tear gas changed the crowd's demeanor. There was an air of disbelief as people realized that the police whom they supported were firing on them. "What are you doing? We support you," someone yelled. All of a sudden, pro-police people felt the police were attacking them, and they didn't know why. The pro-police crowd went from disbelief and confusion to anger.
The police instigated the crowd, right? The police were the oppressors here. So, Ron, Black Lives Matter?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Dom and Cruz, are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines always open for our fair audience. You can call us toll free, talk or text at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, let the NFC North trash talking commence. Aaron Rodgers coming back for a last dance. Apparently, the Packers more committed to him than he apparently is to the Packers organization. I don't care, man. As long as we win the North and win the Super Bowl, you know, you can ride off into the sunset. But, you know, we're going to need one more Lombardi trophy before you go. Dominic, want to acknowledge a couple of the big activities. Atwood Fest this weekend, Madison got back to the party, and man, it was great. Rocker and our boys that do the Max Inc. radio on the weekends, they were the official hosts / roadie / road. I mean, it was quite an affair. They had 4 bands out on the east side of Madison. I went out there. I observed the first band, Steely Dan, and then I got to go up on stage and introduce the second band. My son, Caden, my eldest, was there. I said, well, how'd I do, son? He said, Dad, I like the speech, but your posture was bad.
I said, son, that's just my belly. That's just the way it is.
Well, my son judges himself against, pardon me, got a little verklempt, talk amongst yourselves. He judges himself against others by height. So if I'm not standing up as tall as I could, you know, I'm kind of letting the boy down. You know, he's hitting the top of his height and growth, and he's hoping to exceed Dad. But you know, the microphone, it was down, so I crouched a little. Yeah, I brought my coolness to the mic instead of trying to lift it up and have it, you know, feedback on the stage or whatever. So, you know, I crouched a little. But it was a fun party, had a great time. Then went to a house party on Saturday night. I was the last guest to leave. I just say I shut her down.
Did you sleep on the couch, or what was why were you the last one to leave? Was that in the morning?
No, well, it was after far after midnight, like 1:30 in the morning. But no, my neighbors were partying, and I went down there, and they were partying much harder. I had gone to Atwood Fest, had a couple, and then took a power nap, and then took my kid to a play, and then went to the party. But I was much soberer than everybody else.
Oh, it's like 2-a-days, man. Well done.
Yeah. So, anyways, 2 parties in one. And the Summer of Love, it's not nearly done, Dom. We have an official date to offer on the next party. It's going to be at Hawks Bar. It's going to be Tuesday, August 24th. And we're going to do our next bar affair, at least as far as I know, unless someone else wants to book us. We do weddings and bar mitzvahs. But we'll be at Hawks Bar Tuesday, August 24th. We'll give you all the details, but you know, live show, party to follow. And I will be down on Willie Street. I'll be broadcasting from Quality CBD on August 5th, but that'll be a limited engagement. You can come see Crudy, more of a reception than a party. But, you know, we're going to have a good time. The Summer of Love, and thanks to Chad's Design Build, the local sponsor of the Summer of Love. But, Dom, my attention will probably be on the boob tube tomorrow. We're going to have to watch. I think you're coming to town, right? We're going to have to get some popcorn and set up and watch the important happenings on the Hill, the congressional testimony. And it starts with 4 Capitol police officers, and there will be at least 2 Republicans. Kinzinger has accepted. Hell, Liz Cheney's being sort of lifted up to a speaking role.
She got a promotion. I think after the chair, Benny Thompson, speaks, Liz Cheney will have an opportunity to speak as well.
Well, my understanding is, Dom, she is something of a Pelosi Republican.
If you ask McCarthy, that's how they refer to him now.
But Dominic, overall, they're trying to sabotage this procedure, this commission. They obviously didn't want a bipartisan version. I've got Waldman, the plumb line over at the Washington Post. Maybe we can start this, Dom. The real reason Republicans want to sabotage the investigation into January 6th. Paul Waldman writes, when the House Select Committee exploring the January 6th attack on the Capitol begins its investigation Tuesday, it will have to do more than just gather and synthesize information about the insurrection. It will also have to fight every day to defend the investigation itself against a party determined to discredit it, to spread disinformation, and to prevent any real accounting. It will be reminiscent of both Donald Trump's impeachments, an effort to investigate and understand an assault on the American system of government conducted while Republicans wave their arms and shout they shouldn't be talking about this at all. But the fact that it will make Trump look bad is only the surface reason Republicans oppose this investigation. At a deeper level, they don't want to draw attention to what it will highlight about them and their supporters. Waldman writes, I'm not talking about whether it will be new revelations, alarming pieces of information that had been hidden before now. We might or might not get anything like that. What Republicans really don't want to see illuminated is not just what happened that awful day, but the forces that produced it, the same forces that still threaten the stability of our democracy. That's because they see those forces, the anger and the hatred, the rejection of the American system of resolving differences, the celebration of violence as a means of achieving political ends, the way social media has become such a potent instrument to spread and organize extremism, not as problems to be solved, but as resources for achieving their political goals. We'll come back to the Waldman piece, Tom. The Bears do still suck, and Mitchell Trubisky's not going to solve that problem. Packers,
bring back Cutler.
We got Aaron Rodgers back in the fold, and we'll have to compete with the Vikings, but they'll fold eventually. Yeah, you heard me say it. But more than that, I think it's pretty much a truism all across the land. The Bears still suck, man. And Republicans are quite afraid of being exposed for what they are, Dom. They need this fringe element. They want this fringe element that is the Republican Party. Come back with us. The party, it's right here. 844-967-2789.
The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. The Bears still suck. They really, 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 really suck. Yes, the Bears still suck. Hey!
That's right, it sucks.
But they are who we...
I'm so glad you're listening to Devil Radio. It makes me so happy. Moo.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Hey, how's it going? Come down to 550 State Street. At Knuckleheads, we're your one-stop shop for all your CBD, glass, hookah, cigar needs. We got deals like buy 4, get 1 free on papers, cones, CBD carts. Too many things to list. Call 608-284-0151. Ask a friendly neighborhood knucklehead any questions. Or check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com. Knuckleheads at 550 State Street. We got you covered. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there.
Donahue with an AP News Minute. The first major federal agency is requiring healthcare workers to get coronavirus shots.
Veteran Affairs is going to, in fact, require that all docs working in facilities are going to have to be vaccinated.
The announcement comes as the aggressive Delta variant spreads, and some communities report troubling increases in hospitalizations among unvaccinated people. A mask mandate is being imposed in St. Louis County in Missouri. Sam Page is the county executive.
While the vaccine can protect against serious illness, it can't protect you from being infected with COVID-19 and passing it on to someone else, someone who may be more vulnerable. Until more people get vaccinated, we must continue to do what we can to protect ourselves and others.
Louisiana Republican Congressman Clay Higgins says he, his wife, and son have contracted the coronavirus. Higgins has been a critic of mask mandates and public health restrictions. I'm Ed Donahue.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Staples Connect has everything you need for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, the TI-84 Plus CE Graphing Calculator is just $99.99. You save $55, our lowest price of the season. With savings like that, your student won't just be ready for school, they'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back to school today and get more than ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 8/1, limit 2 per customer, in store only.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The University of Wisconsin system is launching the 70 for 70 campaign in an attempt to encourage students to get vaccinated ahead of the fall semester. The UW system announced Sunday that it will award $7,000 scholarships to 70 students who receive the vaccine and attend a campus that reaches a 70% vaccination threshold. All UW campuses except UW-Madison will be participating. This will be Wisconsin's broadest incentive program to date to encourage vaccinations, and interim UW system president Tommy Thompson hopes the spirit of competition will compel students to get vaccinated. Forecast of mostly sunny skies with some slight cloud coverage for the area today with a high of 92 degrees. Mostly clear skies to begin the evening with clouds moving in late, winds up to 10 miles an hour, and an overnight low of 69 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, Dominic, the Monday edition. Let's do it again. We'll do it live. We do it live each and every weekday. For your listening pleasure, we hope. You know, it's a participation sport here, though. 844-967-2789. Dom, Paul Waldman over at the Washington Post. Maybe you can pick the ball up and cross the goal line for me.
Yeah, I got this one. Again, folks, our number 844-967-2789. The committee, the select committee on the investigation of what happened on January 6th, that starts tomorrow. Waldman thinks that, Republicans really don't want you to know what's going on. And here's his opinion from the Post. I'll jump down to the body here. What Republicans really don't want to see illuminated is not just what happened that awful day, but the forces that produced it. The same forces that still threaten the stability of our democracy. That's because they see those forces, the anger and hatred, the rejection of the American system of resolving differences, the celebration of violence as a means to achieving political ends, the way social media has become such a potent instrument to spread and organize extremism, not as problems to be resolved, but as resources for achieving their own political goals. So the current message being delivered by the GOP is that the investigation is illegitimate and therefore nothing that comes out of it need be seriously addressed. That has been their approach from the onset. When Pelosi offered McCarthy the opportunity to name 5 of the committee members, the names he submitted included Reps. Jordan and Banks, a clear indication that he wanted nothing more than to turn the committee into a circus. Jordan is less a working legislator than a Fox News personality who stages his show from within the halls of Congress. Banks, though lesser known, is just as much of a partisan bomb thrower. He showed how seriously he takes this task by issuing a statement upon being named to the committee that said, quote, Nancy Pelosi created this committee solely to malign conservatives and to justify the left's authoritarian agenda. So perhaps it was McCarthy's hope all along that Pelosi would reject Jordan and Banks, and McCarthy could then use that as a pretext not only to pull the rest of his choices from the committee, but also to lead a campaign against it, which is just what's happening now. Republicans have mobilized against the committee before it starts, fanning out to conservative media to argue the committee's hearings can be ignored and the real blame for January 6th lies not with Trump nor with the other Republicans who aided him, but with Pelosi herself, right, Crudy?
What did
Pelosi...
Nancy know, and when did she know it?
Exactly.
You know, she's like in charge of Capitol Security, according to Ron Johnson.
Give that lady a nightstick. Waldman goes on to write, the speaker, Banks said on Fox News Sunday, is ultimately responsible for the breakdown of security at the Capitol that happened on July 6th. Rep. Elise Stefanik, recently elevated to the House GOP leadership because of her devotion to Trump and the lie of widespread election fraud, released a statement saying, quote, the Pelosi partisan January 6th commission was never about investigating the facts. It was only ever about Pelosi's radical politics and the left's endless obsession with crushing any discussion or debate. Is that what the insurrectionist bastards were there to do? Discuss and debate? It was inevitable that this is where Republicans would arrive. They propagated the lie that the 2020 election was stolen, which is what brought the angry crowd to the Capitol in January 6th in the first place. They continue to support the increasingly deranged Trump, who prodded the mob to violence. More and more, they reject the idea undergirding democracy itself, that the system should reflect the will of the voters. They rail at tech companies, but their real objection is that sites such as Facebook don't allow more right-wing extremism and conspiracy theorizing than they already do. They know that their own supporters see January 6th as either a leftist false flag operation, a legitimate protest that got a teeny bit overenthusiastic.
I think that's it. It just got a little out of hand. You know, you invite a few of the wrong people and they're over enthusiastic.
Yes. Or most disturbingly, writes Waldman, a good thing. One recent poll showed that 25% of Republicans, when asked what they thought of those who forced their way into the Capitol, said they approved of their actions. Given all that, what exactly is it that Republicans would like the investigation of January 6th to discover and explain? Not its root causes, certainly, not the responsibility of political actors, not the actual events of the day, which leaves nothing but, quote, we hate Nancy Pelosi, so it must be her fault. As with so many of our current political controversies, Republicans see their greatest political advantage in increasing distrust, stoking anger, and exacerbating division. That, they believe, is what will most redound to their political benefit, which is why every campaign they have run in the recent past and will run in the future is built on the very forces that led to January 6th. So not only won't they join the investigation of the insurrection, they'll do everything in their power to make sure it fails. Writes Paul Waldman at the opinion piece in the Washington Post.
844-967-2789. Now, Dominic, anyone paying attention around here, and I say our audience, smarter than the average bear, they know what's going on. They can see this. And if they didn't sense it, we've helped bring it to their attention. Let's just say that. We're good attention bringer tours.
Is that a professional terminology, Crudy?
Yes. Exactly as stated. Precisely. But Republicans, this is going to get really ugly. You know what I'm saying? These committee hearings are going to get really ugly because, you know, the other thing Sean Dwyer, the old news director, taught me many, many years ago, assuming there's no big Packer headlines like Aaron Rodgers returning to the team for the 2021 season, because I'd probably have to lead the show with that headline. But otherwise, the old axiom in the news, if it bleeds, it leads. And this is very violent video. And this testimony is going to be very heartfelt, very emotional, I think, at times, especially starting with these Capitol police officers. How can you back the badge and also go and cast shade and crap on these people? And that's exactly what Republicans will feel the need to do tomorrow. Someone will be on Tucker's show telling you why you can't trust a cop, at least not on January 6, 2021. They're bad cops then, because, you know, they blocked what? Trump's coup.
Minions. Right.
And ultimately, Dom, I'm not sure how much evidence we'll hear about specific Congress people. Tell you about Republicans. You know, we've talked about Mo Brooks and Gozer and some of these other. I mean, if Devin Nunes is not involved in this, allegedly, I'd be shocked. And there are some Republicans that are clearly linked very intimately to this sort of action. And the question is, were they coordinating with these people? Did Lauren Boebert, the congresswoman from Colorado, you know, the shoot 'em up girl, was she giving Capitol insurrectionists Capitol tours? the day before, helping them get the lay of the land?
Her or others? I mean, how is this
Marjorie
a question
Taylor
that we
Greene?
still don't know? 6 months later, we have no facts on this one way or the other.
Well, tomorrow, the facts start coming forth. And there are going to be a couple of Republicans on the panel. And you can say, oh, fake Republicans like Cheney, right? Because Cheney, that's like the biggest name in Democratic politics ever,
I mean,
right?
right. I mean, Dick Cheney, the king rhino, Dick Cheney, right? Don't let her shoot you in the face. That's all I'm saying.
And did Adam Kinzinger serve? I'm pretty sure he was a military guy.
Air Force, I believe.
Well, I like that about him. A true patriot in that regard, if no other. So I like these two Republicans. And I feel weird saying I like Liz Cheney for any role, but this would be the role. Liz Cheney has not cowered from this role. I mean, this is Liz Cheney at her best. If her dad gave her anything, it was backbone.
Well, I mean, if you're not going to stand up in a situation like this, then when are you going to? I mean, if this is not a threat to democracy, an anti-democratic movement, an insurrection, a threat to the Constitution, then what is? I mean, that's really the question. My concern, Crudy, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that come forward, these officers, starting with them, and I concur. I think they'll be very emotional and heartfelt, and it will resonate with lots and lots of folks. But I'm more concerned about those who would perhaps not be willing participants in this investigation. I mean, the subpoena power of this committee to go out and get what? McCarthy? He was talking to Trump. You're going to go get McCarthy? You're going to go get Trump? You're going to go get perhaps some information will come forward on some of these other congressional candidates that may or may not have been involved either with communications or giving tours or whatever the case is, right?
So you think
you're going to have some
try
hostile witnesses perhaps. And how, if you're going to go out and subpoena these folks, so let's remember what happened with former White House counsel Don McGahn. Took 2 years. Took 2 years to finally get that testimony. This committee doesn't have 2 years. So the concern I have is that there are these guys that, got people like McCarthy and like Trump. If they feel the need to call them, will they respond? Will they show up? I'm kind of doubting they will.
Can they be compelled? Can the House compel the minority leader of the House to give testimony? I would think yes. I mean, Trump might be a larger fight, but Kevin McCarthy serves in that body. How can he refuse a subpoena coming from the House?
Well, hell, for that matter, Trump's a civilian. How can he refuse a subpoena? He doesn't have any White House protection. He doesn't have what do you call it? Infinite protection. I forget his stupid terms. Right? Whatever he thought he had, and whatever cloaked him as the chief of the executive branch, he no longer controls. That's not him anymore. So he, as far as I'm concerned, is just is able to be called as I am.
Yeah, but you weren't the sitting president on January 6th, and Donald Trump was. So at least Trump would have some legal cover. If Trump refused the subpoena, you could compel him through the courts, would take a series of months or years.
Right.
And then appeals and appeals and appeals. And I don't know, Trump would be a much tougher nut to crack in terms of compelled testimony in a congressional circumstance, because the U.S. Supreme Court, even the compelling of the financials for the House committees, I don't think went the same way as, let's say, the AG in New York
trying to get the financials.
Got
from
the financials
from the president, right?
Yeah, but the House committee, my understanding, was rejected. They did not get what they were seeking, even though he is now the former president. So I'm not clear legally if they can compel the former president. If he refuses to go, what do you go arrest the guy? Drag him in?
Yes, absolutely. And Gozar, McCarthy, and anybody else. Come on, man. If you're not going to enforce a subpoena during an investigation into an insurrection, according to the Republican now on the committee, the worst act since 1814, then when the hell are you going to do that?
Never.
It will never happen. So that's what we're left with, right? Either this thing comes to some sort of fruition, or we are doomed to recycle this thing over and over and over again.
So do you think this committee will have any teeth? Because that's the real question. If you can't compel testimony, Kevin McCarthy's not going to willingly go out there and tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, because it would be implicating, right? What did Donald Trump reportedly say? Well, Kevin, apparently the Capitol insurrectionists care more about the outcome of this election than you did.
Kevin.
Right?
Well,
Chastise the guy.
That's what's been reported. Now, he has not said that, right? He hasn't said that under oath.
Well, not under oath, because he has not been compelled to give testimony under oath so far. But, some of these DOJ investigations of these insurrectionists, when you start moving into some of the conspiracy charges and the 3%ers and the militias, because we've talked about individual actors and we've started to see some pleads and some convictions and even some sentences, but we haven't seen the conspiring parties, the ones that marched up that chain up the Capitol steps.
Right.
The militias.
Military gear on.
Yeah, they did that. Perhaps
the ones that used bear spray on the cops, that were specifically striking the cops with, flagpoles and other weapons. I mean, those folks have not yet come around. The couple of what we've seen is one guy with the Trump flag getting 8 months, right? That's what we know of right now. And he wasn't beating anybody. He wasn't spraying chemical agents on police officers, right? He was just walking around with a stupid ass Trump flag in the Capitol. There's going to be more serious convictions in the near future, I would imagine.
Now, Roger Stone was not pre-pardoned for January 6th, right? Just his prior stuff that he was convicted of. He was pardoned for that, but not for being part of the Capitol insurrection. Let's not forget, it was his bodyguards. I mean, he was staffed up with 3%ers. A handful of
he stayed in the hotel room, though, man.
Rudy did? Well, that's because that's where the minibar was. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We're going to shake it up. Dial us up. We'll be right back.
The mood of the crowd was positive and festive.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Burn already!
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join MoveOn's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
I'm not down for voter suppression in my state.
No, right. This. It's got to be easy. It was great to have these options. We should have these options. We should have days off for people to go vote. We should expand the availability, the ease of our own citizens in this country to participate in self-governance. Republicans, why are you so opposed to that?
Because they lose those elections.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open for your take, 844-967-2789.
This is a long-distance dedication going out to you, George. We know you're texting us, you troll. Anyways, Dom, wanted to get right into the nominating and the naming of the D-bag of the day. And I'd like to throw out My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell is my first nominee. The Raw Story reporting, Dom. And it's always an important headline when it starts with, "I'm serious." Mike Lindell claims Joe Biden will resign, in quotes, on August 13th. Joe serving out the last couple of weeks of his presidency.
Friday the 13th, baby. It's coming.
My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell speculated this week that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will resign on the morning of August 13th. Making Nancy Pelosi the president, I suppose. Lindell told Real America's Voice host Steve Bannon, oh, that guy, a former Florida meth head, right? Steve Bannon, that
allegedly
came to the conclusion after speaking with 3 Democrats who regretted voting for Biden. Well, if you got 3 Democratic sources, are they friends?
Like 3 rando Democrats in this country? Or are you talking about 3 like elected officials? Or does it even matter because he's lying his ass off anyway?
The My Pillow CEO claimed that he had convinced the Biden voters that the 2020 election had been stolen from former President Donald Trump. I talked to Democrats and the liberals too, and they see the bad things that are going on, Lindell said, recalling a speech he recently gave in New Hampshire. There were a lot of people there that had regrets that they wish they had known more before they voted. There's 3 of them that voted for Biden that feel terrible about it. I said, you know what? I said, you didn't know about this, but you thought you were voting for something. I said, you didn't get to vote. I said, China did our vote. It's all China's fault. China. You didn't see that coming, did you?
No.
Lindell once again vowed to show evidence proving the election was stolen at his cyber symposium event, which is scheduled for August 10th through 12th. So good thing is he'll be off the stage by the time the August 13th prediction happens, right? You'd hate the symposium to fall after the date predicted because, let's just say if it didn't happen, might have a few disappointed attendees. Might get kind of brutal up there at the symposium.
I'm not clear, man. That's the thing about, cultists. They just kind of nod and just keep going along with it. I mean, because if they had any rational thinking, they would reject it once it doesn't happen, right? If I say I'm going to rise to the heavens and place my
today
and be seated at the right hand of God on, July 26th of 2021, and that doesn't happen, and my cult members stick around, I mean, well, that's why they're cult members, right? There is no rational thinking there.
Well, I'd like to think you join me here at the right hand of God each and every day. The world will end tomorrow. My newest prediction. One last quote. It gives me hope that even your Democrats, they're seeing now firsthand that the government can do and how bad socialism and communism can be when we get through this and the Supreme Court pulls down this election. Like I've been telling everybody, when they do this, it's going to be a great uniting. And that gives me hope. Well, I give you a nomination, sir. Mike Lindell, CEO of My Pillow. I nominate you for D-Bag of the Day. D-Bag of the Day. Can you top that, Salvia?
Oh, Crudy, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention over the weekend. I had cousin Joe from Detroit in town and had some birthday parties.
Don't blame it on Joe or the parties
to attend. So this one, though, I think I might be able to top it here. One of your favorite media types, Tucker Carlson, gets confronted in a Montana store, apparently a sporting goods store in Livingston, Montana. We have some of the sound, but from the HuffPost, a little bit of the background. Let's see here. Let me pull it up here. Much of the brief conversation is difficult to make out. Carlson, wearing a plaid button-down and gold watch, can be seen holding his hand up against Bailey, the man who was yelling at him, his chest, making his trademark exaggerated facial expressions. Is that what it is? A trademarked exaggerated facial expression? He appears to grimace and then, realizing he's being filmed, spreads his mouth into a grin and turns away. Bailey then goes on. Bailey wrote on his Instagram, This man has killed more people with vaccine disinformation. He has supported extreme racism. He is a fascist and does more to rip this country apart than anyone that calls themselves an American. Well, I would almost agree with you there, Bailey. I think Trump is worse, but let's hear some of the sound from this encounter. Mr. Dan Bailey addressing Tucker Carlson.
I don't care, man. Dude, you are the worst human being known to mankind. I want you to know what you have done to this state, to the United States, to everything else in this world. I don't care that you're not here. What you have done to people's families, what you have done to everybody else in this society.
You are the worst human being. And then Tucker Carlson calls him son. Apparently was trying to say, oh, my daughter's here. You can't say that. Now, I know the righties are probably all sort of mad about it, but here's the thing. This isn't cancel culture. This is consequence. If you're a grade A #1 D-bag and you have this huge platform and you go out and you say these asinine things, well, ultimately you are, in fact, harming this country. You are harming people, legitimately anti-vax information. If you are encouraging people to not get vaxxed, that's not helpful. So thank you, Mr. Dan Bailey, for pointing out that Tucker Carlson is indeed a D-bag.
I keep bagging. D-bag. I concur. Although I'd never be at a store named after myself. If there was like a Mike Crude Hardware, but I didn't own it, I'd have a hard time frequenting the Mike Crude Hardware store. Dan Bailey was at the Dan Bailey Hardware store, but Dan Bailey doesn't own Dan Bailey Hardware. I mean, it seems like a weird place to hang out. I wouldn't hang out at the Crudy store.
You know, now you put it like that, I don't know if I would either. What's in the Crudy store, man? What are you selling at the Crudy store?
I don't know, but the jerk store called and they just ran out of you. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Hour 2 is next. We're going to talk about some mandates. I mandate that our audience sticks around and maybe even dials us up at 844-967-2789. And coming up later in the big show in the 4 o'clock hour, I got Kirk Bangstad. He is the owner and proprietor of Minocqua Brewing Company. They're making the progressive beers. And he's bringing some Beaver's Ale, I understand. I wish it were here with you. I'm going to have to drink it. Me and Fancy Brian, we'll drink it. Kirk,
save one for me, man. I'll be there tomorrow.
Well, I have no promises. More Devil's Advocates. Hour 2 is next.
No, I'm not going to join.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Oh, hey there, Madison Public.
Hi.
What are your plans for the first week of August?
I don't have any plans or anything.
Oh, you're going to be boring after a year of doing nothing? Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's Madison Comedy Week, folks. We're back with 100 of the best comedians from around the country for 27 shows over the course of 8 days, August 1st to August 8th. Come out to this event. Don't be silly. We'll do that for you. Find our full show list at madisoncomedyweek.net.
Cool.
Love you.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. As the Delta variant spreads, California and New York announced they would require all government employees to get the coronavirus vaccine or face weekly testing. Governor Gavin Newsom in California says restrictions are returning, and he's tired of hearing from the critics.
We're exhausted by the politicalization of this pandemic, and that includes mask wearing that has been equated to the Holocaust. It's disgraceful, it's unconstitutional, it's unconscionable. and it needs to be called out.
The Department of Veterans Affairs became the first major federal agency to require healthcare workers to get vaccinated. Mask restrictions are back in St. Louis County in Missouri and in Savannah, Georgia. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked if more restrictions are on the way.
The CDC looks at data. They look at data across the country in a range of regions across the country. And if they make an assessment, we will, of course, be here to follow their guidance.
A relative says the last victim of the Florida building collapse has been identified, 54-year-old Estelle Hedaya. 98 bodies were pulled from the rubble in Florida. Tom Barack, the chair of former President Donald Trump's 2017 inaugural committee, pleaded not guilty and said he was 100% innocent of charges he secretly lobbied the U.S. on behalf of the United Arab Emirates. President Biden met with Iraq's prime minister about a different phase in operations there.
It's just to be available, to continue to train, to assist, to help, and to deal with ISIS as it arrives. But we are not going to be, by the end of the year, in a combat mission.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is confident he'll ultimately be exonerated of allegations of sexual harassment, but he also questioned the neutrality of the lawyers hired to investigate his behavior. 5 people are dead, including a deputy and the suspect, in shootings at a home in California. The violence began with a 911 call from a home in Central California. This is AP News.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge for a coupon and daily support? Sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Staples Connect has everything you need for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, the TI-84 Plus CE Graphing Calculator is just $99.99. You save $55, our lowest price of the season. With savings like that, your student won't just be ready for school. They'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school today and get more than ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 8/1, limit 2 per customer, in-store only.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Chad's Design Build is proud to sponsor the Summer of Love on Devil Radio. We are committed to our community to demand better for each and every person. Doing the right thing isn't necessarily easy or inexpensive, but when we take the time to listen and learn, we can build a better community. Thoughtful remodeling is a lot like building an effective, progressive coalition. It takes patience, intelligence, and love. Experience helps too. Thank you, Joe Biden, and thank you, Devil Radio. On behalf of Chad's Design Build, here's to the Summer of Love.
This is Rocker. I'm sitting on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash, and I'm enjoying a floral-forward Manhattan called As Long as There's Whiskey. It features Rocker Rye whiskey with a hint of blueberry, a touch of smoky Amaro, and it's finished off with St. Germain. It's a Rocker Rye Manhattan at Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston. Ask for it by name, As Long as There's Whiskey. You can also enjoy Rocker Spirits at the Wisco and Tiny's Tap on Willie Street. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
So, Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Are all real estate brokers tree huggers?
Crew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yep, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike. And if I have an appointment across town, I use my hybrid.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them online at solidarityrealty.com. There is an alternative.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. on Devil Radio. This week, my special guest is Jerry Apps. See you then.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your breaking news headlines. Today, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers called for a special session of the Wisconsin legislature to invest more in education funding. At the end of last week, Republican lawmakers stated they would enter into an extraordinary session this week in an attempt to override one of Governor Tony Evers' recent vetoes. Here's Governor Evers in a video announcement he made today calling for the special session.
If Republicans have time to come into session just to try and override my vetoes, then they sure as heck have time to come into session and to do what's best for our kids. So if they're going to come to Madison, then they have work to do. That's why I'm calling a special session of the legislature for tomorrow.
You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we've got some troubling news out of Minnesota, and we'd like to share it with our audience, especially those listening on AM 950 KTNF out of Minneapolis. There's sort of a domestic terrorism thing going on at your state capital.
What?
Dangerous woman waving Trump flag drives onto the mall at the Minnesota Capitol, and the police do not arrest her, according to John Wright. And initially, this source is from Theo Keith, a political reporter at KMSP TV, Fox 9, Minneapolis, St. Paul. But we know Theo Keith. He used to work around here. A white woman, shocker, a white woman
Right.
waving a Donald Trump flag drove her car onto the mall of the Minnesota Capitol on Monday. Of course she did, Dom. Theo Keith, the political reporter we mentioned, here's his quote on Twitter. Wild scene at the Minnesota State Capitol as a woman drives her vehicle onto the South Mall waving a Trump flag. The incident disrupted State Rep John Thompson and his supporters who were holding a news conference at the Capitol. Now the woman has fled the Capitol South Lawn before being stopped on MLK Boulevard by police in unmarked squads. A little bit more here, Dom. The incident could be seen in live stream from the news conference, because they were having a news conference. When the woman drives up into the restricted area on the sidewalk in her Chevy SUV, attendees at the news conference confront her at the bottom of the Capitol steps, according to the video. After one of the attendees tries to take the woman's Trump flag, oh, how dare you?
Oh, that was fighting words.
She begins to honk the horn. Honk, honk. And then it gets ugly, Dom. When a police officer arrives, the attendee tells him, please get her out of here. I'm afraid for my life. Instead of arresting the woman, the police appear to allow her to leave. She drives off before swerving through the Capitol lawn. Finally, police pull her over on a nearby street. Now, here's a quote, Dom. I didn't know you could drive onto the Capitol steps, do a couple of donuts, and then leave. The narrator says in the video for, driving up the Capitol steps, doing a couple of donuts on the Minnesota State Capitol lawn, and then driving off. The video shows the woman pulled over with unmarked police cars blocking her in and officers talking to her. No tasers?
Don't tase me, bro.
But I thought they feared for their life.
Apparently not. A vehicle can be used as a weapon, don't you know?
A black man asked one of the officers why she hasn't been arrested. His quote, what she did to us over there was extremely dangerous. She could have run us over. If she was anything other than a blonde-haired white woman, she wouldn't be having that conversation right now. She is dangerous. The officer responds by saying, they've requested a mental health unit. The person recording the video then returns to the press conference for several minutes before coming back to where the woman is pulled over. The woman's still in a car, apparently talking to the mental health worker. She can be seen smoking a cigarette and holding the Bible. Smoke them if you got them, Jesus.
My God.
If she has mental health issues, which she probably does, this same treatment needs to be spread across the board for everybody, no matter their race or color. The one black bystander says they come at the car with us with guns drawn, ready for whatever.
Right.
Not ready to talk and listen like they did for her. More than an hour after the initial incident, the driving on the Capitol stairs and doing donuts on the Minnesota Capitol lawn, Dom, more than an hour after the initial incident, police finally helped the woman out of her car without handcuffs and into the back of an unmarked police car. White privilege, one bystander can be heard yelling. Yeah, that would be white privilege, Dom. I didn't know you couldn't do that.
Well, and I'm glad they didn't open fire. I mean, we don't want that either. But how about they just, perhaps take the same? These are, what, Minneapolis? Where is this at? I'm sorry. Was this in
Minnesota Capitol
okay.
building? So perhaps Minnesota State Capitol Police, but they're in unmarked cars. I didn't really try to discern what was the actual policing unit that was responding. But yeah, man, if you drive your car on the Capitol lawn, that could be perceived as a weapon. And when you're having a press conference, primarily attended by African Americans, associated by a state rep, and you got a woman out there waving her Trump flag, smoking her grottos, and holding her Bible near and dear, probably upside down like the president did. I would put her in handcuffs as a precautionary measure and allow the mental health workers to take them off at the asylum.
Wow. That's certainly shows different tactics dealing with her versus pulling over, young black men, for example.
Welcome to the party, Minnesota.
Wow.
Hasn't been the same without you. 844-967-2789. I wonder if any of our fine listeners on AM 950 happen to observe this happenstance, because I got to think, Dom, if this had happened at the Wisconsin State Capitol, few in our audience would have been observers or something. They would have taken the video. They'd be calling in, telling us all about it. So if you are a witness or you've driven your SUV onto the Minnesota or Wisconsin State Capitol lawn and done some donuts while waving a Trump flag, feel free to call at 844-967-2789. People being bashful so far, still in weekend mode, or maybe they're working hard. We're just on in the background. What other important stories should we bring to?
Well, I think, come on, man. COVID's rising, right? Florida has a crap ton of new cases. Lots of these new cases in this country in Florida.
Is that the CDC's term, crap ton?
In Missouri, I believe. VA healthcare workers, New York City employees, and California state employees now facing vaccine mandates. The vaccine mandates, here we are. If people and the Republicans, as you know, crew, they're going to lose their mind about this. But the Washington Post is reporting doctors, nurses, and medical groups call for mandatory coronavirus vaccinations for healthcare workers. The health and safety of the nation depend on it, says a statement signed by 57 groups. Dan Diamond reporting from this morning in the Post. Medical groups representing millions of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and other health workers on Monday called for mandatory vaccinations of all U.S. health personnel against the coronavirus, framing the move as a moral imperative as new infections mount sharply. We call for all healthcare and long-term care employees to require their employers to require their employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19. The American Medical Association, the American Nurses Association, and 55 other groups wrote in a joint statement shared with the Washington Post. The health and safety of U.S. workers, families, communities, and the nation depends on it. The statement, issued by many groups urging a mandate for the first time, represents an increasingly tough stance by the medical and public health establishment amid the sluggish pace of national vaccinations. It comes as new cases rip through the nation, driven by the hyper-transmittable Delta variant. Confirmed coronavirus infections have nearly quadrupled in July, from about 13,000 cases per day at the start of the month to more than 50,000 now, according to the Post tracking. Hospital leaders in states such as Alabama, Florida, and Missouri have implored holdouts to get vaccinated, citing data that the shots prevent hospitalizations and death. But many workers in the health field remain unvaccinated despite having priority access to coronavirus vaccines, which first became available in December. More than 38% of nursing workers are not fully vaccinated as of July 11th, despite caring for patients at elevated risk of the coronavirus, according to data collected by the Senate Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Further, an analysis by WebMD and Medscape Medical News estimated that 25% of hospital workers who had contact with patients had not been vaccinated by the end of May. Health leaders said that the slowed pace of vaccinations, coupled with the threat of the Delta variant, compelled them to act. We feel that it's important to sign our name onto this, said Rachel Villanueva, a OBGYN and the president of the National Medical Association, which represents more than 50,000 Black physicians, and is calling for a vaccination mandate for the first time. Villanueva added that the new coronavirus cases could disproportionately affect frontline workers, many of whom are African American, and communities of color that continue to lag behind whites on vaccination rates. We want to continue to dispel myths, educate, increase confidence, and increase vaccination rates in our communities.
Now, Dominic, you mentioned Florida. I think you described them as having a crap load of coronavirus cases. About 20% of all the national cases currently are in the state of Florida.
Wow.
Headline over at CNN, in these two states, every county is listed as high transmission for COVID-19. Florida and Arkansas currently share a grim distinction when it comes to the spread of the coronavirus. Every one of the two states' counties is now listed as having high levels of community transmission, according to the U.S. CDC. The CDC lists high transmission in every county in several other states, including Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. The CDC considers a county to have a high transmission rate if there have been 100 or more cases of COVID-19 per 100,000 residents, or a positivity rate of 10% or higher over the past 7 days. Nearly 44% of U.S. counties fall into this category, according to the latest from the CDC, Dom. That Florida man, he's probably got COVID. He's going to give it to you. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Join the party. Dial us up. 844-967-2789. Once again, 844-96-PARTY.
I don't like you because you're dangerous.
Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry.
I know what I saw.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson joins us on the phone regarding our military influence. Aren't we selling arms right now to Saudi Arabia, and aren't they using, munitions that they've purchased from us in their war?
And if we weren't doing that, because they've got plenty of money, they'll buy less precise munitions from other people, and the bloodshed would be worse.
Well, the blood might be on someone else's hands then, Ron.
I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The tear gas changed the crowd's demeanor. There was an air of disbelief as people realized that the police whom they supported were firing on them. "What are you doing? We support you," someone yelled. All of a sudden, pro-police people felt the police were attacking them, and they didn't know why. The pro-police crowd went from disbelief and confusion to anger.
The police instigated the crowd, right? The police were the oppressors here. So, Ron, Black Lives Matter?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open. Join us at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we did get a tweet out at us. Heretic Dad tweeted at Devil Radio. Seems to be that driving a car onto the Capitol Mall and doing donuts on the lawn is more dangerous a threat than passing a fake $20 bill, which apparently was the alleged crime George Floyd lost his life over. 844-967-2789. You can always join us, be a part of this big show. Next up, Lawrence from St. Paul. Welcome, Lawrence. What do you got for us?
Hi, Lawrence.
Well, I'm going to try to encapsulate this whole thing in a nutshell. And here's the nutshell: that all of these Republican states that wanted to own the libs and put everybody else's lives in danger, if there are not consequences for that, if there are not consequences for January 6th, I'm done with the Democrats. I don't want to hear any more about bipartisan. I'm tired of hearing stuff about we're working with the the Republicans. I'm tired of hearing Joe Manchin's name mentioned because he won't do anything. Hey, I'm going to tell you, here's the bottom line, and many of my friends are the same way, that if some hard consequences are not paid, you can forget about our vote, and that's the black people vote. That's what I'm hearing in the blackosphere.
What does delivering on behalf of the black community look like, other than perhaps prosecuting the insurrectionist?
Oh, first up, prosecute Donald J. Trump. Second thing is removal of all Confederate flags and monuments from government property. The third thing is fast track all racial discrimination lawsuits through the court system. And lastly, and they've done this, make Juneteenth a federal holiday. They did that. We need the other thing, or else you're not going to get black votes. And that's just through the blackosphere.
Lawrence, appreciate your contribution, man. You got insights we don't have. 844-967-2789. Be a part of this big show. Mark from the SAC, you're back, man. What do you got for us?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, guys. First off, this, I think I've mentioned it last week, this nonsense of not teaching that the Ku Klux Klan was a bad thing is just that they're passing laws in some states where you can't say negative things about the Ku Klux Klan.
I think Texas most recently, Mark.
For the love of God. I mean, they murdered people. I mean, and that's what you say, you're okay on that. I mean, and for this woman that was just driving on, that she should have been hauled away in handcuffs, pure and simple. I mean, this gentle touch thing that they've given to her is nothing that they would give to, that a person of more ebon skin, I would guess, that drove through it. So if somebody drove through a Trump rally like that, they would be.
Well, if you drove through a Trump rally like that, you'd get shot, Mark, because half the people are armed.
And I mean, this woman was using a deadly weapon. Let's face it, pure and simple, she was using a deadly weapon, and she should be prosecuted as such. That none of this kid gloves treatment for this woman is just baloney. I mean, yes, she might have some mental health issues, but you didn't know that at the time. Maybe she just died an old Trump supporter. I mean, we got Kevin McCarthy there. Just kind of, he was wetting his pants on January 6th, and now he's, that he went down to Mar-a-Lago, surrendered his manhood to Donald Trump, and probably had it done without anesthesia, and now it's just a member of Trump's Janissaries. I mean, and people probably need to look that up. There were men who gave up their testicles to fight for the Turkish army in the form of Janissaries. I mean, I just don't understand.
Why would anyone do that, man? I don't understand either.
I'll pass on the whole eunuch thing. Dominic, do you see what Carl Bernstein said about?
I did not. Real quickly, before you go on that, we're talking about we appreciate the callers, 844-967-2789. The COVID cases in Florida specifically, right? According to the CDC, new cases on July 23rd, so it's been on Friday, another 14,000 plus cases. Their positivity rate, 16.4%. 16.4% positivity. That means of every 10 tests, right? You're getting 1.6 coming back as positive. Those are scary numbers, and those charts, the numbers, the trend is going up. It's terribly going up. This is bad news, and I'm thinking that perhaps some of these efforts to mandate vaccinations, be it the state of California, be it New York City, be it the VA, or be it 54 associations of medical professionals, we're going to see more and more and more of this. And my question is going to be, how are the conservatives going to address this? Right now, my understanding, Trump came out, he had a cult rally this weekend, right, Brian? I think we got some sound from the president. Was he actually encouraging people? He was in Arizona. Great. Was he actually encouraging people to get the vaccine? Cut number 10, Brian, if you would.
I came up with the vaccine. They said it would take 3 to 5 years. Gonna save the world. I recommend you take it, but I also believe in your freedoms 100%. But just so you understand, but it was a great achievement.
Take it, but don't take it if you don't want to. But most of all, it was one of my greatest achievements. Let's not lose sight of the really important part.
Yes, me for Trump. But here, at the end of the day, if that's what it takes for the cult members, okay. I don't care. Just get the freaking vaccine.
He didn't convince anyone to get the vaccine.
He's trying to take credit without telling them, without highly encouraging them to do so. But, I did it.
He said, take the vaccine or don't take the vaccine. Doesn't matter much to me as long as I was the greatest president ever. I mean, that wasn't exactly encouragement, Tom. Encouragement is without asterisk, without, rebuttal in the same sentence.
Like when he was encouraging the crowd to be peaceful on January 6th, the words peaceful came out of his mouth once.
Be peaceful. Well, let's go kick some ass. Come back with us. We'll kick ass and take names on the other side. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls as well. 844-967-2789.
Restitution and really restoration. And
what'd you do?
Nobody did what I've done.
Talk radio made for the 99%. Only on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
I've already guaranteed this will be my last term. I'm doing this because I want to solve these problems.
Was it problem solving when you blocked COVID relief or when you downplayed the insurrection?
I want to do it because I'm so concerned about the direction of this country. I've got something to offer.
Like becoming a hydroxychloroquine salesman?
I'll go home with a smile on my face realizing I'd left it all in the field.
You must be exhausted.
I don't feel like my time here has been particularly successful.
Go home.
This message was paid for by the People Corporation. Donate online at P4PPC.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished higher, the Dow up 82 points. The Department of Veterans Affairs is requiring all its medical employees to get coronavirus shots as the Delta variant spreads. California and New York City are telling government workers they either get vaccinated or get tested every week. This is New York Mayor Bill de Blasio.
This is about our recovery. This is about what we need to do to bring back New York City. This is about keeping people safe.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the goal is to get more people vaccinated.
In December, the percentage of Americans willing to get a shot was in the 30s. We now have 70% of adult, almost 70%, I should say, of adult Americans who have been vaccinated. That is a positive step forward, and it is an encouraging sign to us.
St. Louis became the second major city to mandate face masks be worn indoors, regardless of vaccination status, joining Los Angeles in reimposing the orders. I'm Ed Donahue.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Staples Connect has everything you need for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, the TI-84 Plus CE Graphing Calculator is just $99.99. You save $55, our lowest price of the season. With savings like that, your student won't just be ready for school, they'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back to school today and get more than ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 8/1, limit 2 per customer, in store only.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Despite eviction judgments being down over the past 4 months, experts across Wisconsin fear a spike in evictions may occur beginning next week when the federal eviction moratorium expires. The moratorium had been extended several times throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, but will expire at the end of the month, and experts are continuing to connect state and federal aid to individuals in need. Governor Tony Evers has directed $322 million to the Wisconsin Emergency Rental Assistance Program throughout the pandemic, but the state has only awarded roughly $44 million to date. Forecasts of mostly sunny skies with some slight cloud coverage for the area today with a high of 92 degrees. Mostly clear skies to begin the evening with clouds moving in late, winds up to 10 miles an hour, and an overnight low of 69 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Last Dance edition. Although I suspect we'll be back tomorrow.
I was going to say, man, you better give some context to that. You
the
might be
last
scaring
dance
people.
of our championship season, though. You know, Aaron Rodgers is coming back to the Packers. Tweeted out about the last dance he and Devontae Adams both did. And if you haven't seen it on ESPN, go watch it. The Last Dance. It's wonderful television. I encourage it. As a big Jordan fan, until he went to the Bulls.
And then no longer. I thought,
I was always a Michael Jordan fan. So even when he played for the Bulls, I probably have witnessed more Bulls games than Bucks games in my life.
Yeah, he was good.
He
played for Chicago. I see how you go, Crudy.
50 years of bad here, though. Dominic, real quick, little off track, but sort of related topic. People in Missouri are reportedly disguising themselves so that their friends and family won't find out they're getting the COVID-19 vaccine. You know, you got to wear a Halloween costume to go to the doctor.
Whatever it takes. But what kind of world you living in? When you go get a vaccine, it becomes this big, judgment issue with your non-vaxxer family and friends. What?
Doctor out of Missouri said this. I've had several people come in to get vaccinated who have sort of tried to disguise their appearance and even went so far as to say, please, please, please don't let anybody know that I got this vaccine. I don't want my friends to know. According to the report, Kirk's, like Ozarks with a K, healthcare now offers a private setting so that patients can get the vaccine without being seen. Come in through the back door.
I mean, okay, great. Whatever it takes, just go do it. Just go and do it. It's such a shame that this has become politicized to such the degree that it has. And a guy like Donald Trump could stand up, and he didn't. We played the clip. You know, he could have stand up. I made this, and I want every single one of you to go get it. If you love me, and I know you do, go get the vaccine.
Well,
Period.
that would have
end of story.
Sounded like an endorsement instead of saying get it or don't get it. You know, personal freedom.
You have your freedom. Do what you want.
I just know I'm super cool.
And I'll be back in office on August 13th.
Well, that's only if you believe that Mike Lindell guy. Dominic, Carl Bernstein, he went on the CNN. Brian Stelter, reliable sources, I believe, was the source of this interview. I found it over here at the Business Insider. Carl Bernstein called Trump our own American war criminal over COVID-19 deaths and encouraging the Capitol riot. I'd like to read a little bit from the Business Insider. The Watergate reporter, Carl Bernstein, has accused former President Donald Trump of being, and this is his quote, our own American war criminal over his actions during the coronavirus pandemic and the January 6th Capitol riot. Speaking with CNN's Brian Stelter, Bernstein said, I think we need to calmly step back and maybe look at Trump in a different context. He is America's, our own American war criminal of a kind we've never experienced before. Stelter interrupted Bernstein saying, you just said war criminal. What do you mean war criminal? Bernstein replied, I did. In the international law, there have been a quote, crimes against humanity. I think what we're talking about, Trump's crimes, is an American war criminal in his own country that he has perpetrated upon our people, including the tens of thousands of people who have died because of his homicidal negligence in the pandemic, putting his own electoral interest above the health of our people as they were slaughtered in this pandemic. Bernstein also cited Trump's actions during the Capitol riot, again, a quote, looking at his actions in terms of fomenting a coup to hold on to office in which the head of the American military, the head of the American military, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has now compared Trump, not the press, not the reporters comparing to Trump, not Crudy and Dom, but the Joint Chiefs of Staff compared Trump to Hitler, but rather the head of the American military comparing him and his movement to brown shirts, to the Reichstag fire. A new book by two Washington Post journalists reported that General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has said that Trump spread the gospel of the Fuhrer via his lies about the 2020 election and compared the former president's supporters to brown shirts in the streets. Brown shirt, red hat, Tom. Business Insider. What do you think? Trump, our own American war criminal. Strong words. Bernstein was obviously trying to get a reaction.
Words. And, you know, anytime you do the Nazi comparisons, I cringe a little
bit. But that was Milley. That was,
I know, I understand.
That was the Joint Chief of Staff chair.
I understand. But, you know, the being hyperbolic and making the Nazi comparisons to that degree, I think it diminishes the actual travesty of what this guy did. You know, not everyone's, you know, he's Hitler. I mean, I get it. I mean, and his actions are atrocious, no question. And he should face the music for those actions in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know if it's going to be this commission or if it will be the Department of Justice or where that justice will come from. But yeah, I mean, that's the reporting. That was his own guy. That's the joint. Was that the Joint Chiefs of Staff who said that? Milley,
General Milley said that. Well, he was quite concerned that the president was trying to do a coup d'etat. And Milley had to stand up to him, right? He had to point out, you can't use the military. Because Trump wanted to use the military against Black Lives Matter's protester. Multiple, plural protesters. So, anyways, I know that Bernstein was trying to get a reaction, Dom. I have described prior Dick Cheney, father of Liz Cheney, as a war criminal. I'm sure I've described W. Bush as a war criminal. They lied to get us into a war.
Seems like a criminal act.
But
I'm just saying.
When you describe Trump as a war criminal and crimes against humanity, you're implying there should be a trial at The Hague. And I'm not clear that there would be sentiment for that. Now, did Trump kill perhaps up to hundreds of thousands of Americans through his own negligence? Yeah, wasn't Bernstein the guy that recorded him prior telling the truth?
No, that was Woodward.
Oh, my bad. You know, they're often paired together in history, Dom, the whole Watergate thing. But we have the tapes. We've heard the tapes. Bernstein's heard the tapes. Yeah, I'm sure his buddy Woodward shared the tapes, right, Dom? So if you knew, and you knew it was transmissible, and you knew it was far worse than the flu, and you failed to tell the American people, and therefore, because of his own electoral interest, because he didn't even want testing, right? Want to keep cruise passengers from re-entering the United States as long as he could, because he didn't want to count them in. Yeah, we're at 15. Probably go back down to 0, right?
And that's a pretty good job we've done.
15 or 600,000 dead, you know, one or the other. Does that rise to the level of war criminal? And would you specifically use the Hague, the International Court? Would you use the war criminal statutes to try and hold Trump accountable for his insurrectionist encouragement and the negligence he obviously demonstrated in allowing the American people to die from a preventable pandemic, you know, because he was hoping to win re-election. Something important.
Very important. Was he hoping to win re-election, or was he just hoping to, avoid further prosecution by using the protections provided to him by the presidency? I mean, I have that's if you're going to talk about motivation, that's what I see as his motivation. I don't see that Trump was really eager to govern. His actions while president did not show me that he was eager to govern. He's very eager to use the powers of the presidency and the executive branch to benefit him and his, but to govern and for politics, I mean, I guess you got to get elected in order to get those protections, but those are his real motivations. But to say we're going to send the former president of the United States to The Hague for crimes against humanity that were perpetrated upon the American people, I mean, I don't know about that. I think whatever happens for justice for Donald Trump needs to come out of this country. That's my position on that. And I'm, and unfortunately, I don't see that. I mean, maybe we'll get some information coming up starting tomorrow. I mean, we'll get some, emotional testimony, but who's going to connect the dots? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to, show us the pings on the cell phones? I mean, if some, Monsignor from the Catholic Church can get outed by, a Christian newspaper, digging up Grindr data, we should be able to figure out, which of these cell phones and IP addresses were communicating with each other. We should be able to know whether or not there was, coordination between the White House, members of Congress, and, the 3 percenters or whatever, name your nationalist group. I mean, this information has still not been vetted as far as I'm concerned, one way or the other. So before we start talking about, whether or not we're going to, turn over our own justice, seeking of justice and our governance to The Hague, I'd like to see some efforts in this country to try to bring this man to justice for the things he's done.
Well, Dominic, you bring the popcorn and we'll watch the House Select Committee hearings. They begin tomorrow morning. And we see some callers stacking up. I want to throw a little bit out there and then to the phones at 844-967-2789. Senate Republicans made a massive error, and it will have significant consequences next year. According to an op-ed at the Dispatch this Monday, Chris Sherwald contends that when Senate Republicans voted to block the establishment of a bipartisan commission to investigate the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, they were handing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi a powerful midterm weapon. A little bit more here, Dom. In doing so, Steyerwalt writes, Republicans will have to deal with a committee of politicians selected entirely by Pelosi. Even better for Democrats, the committee itself is a powerful tool to divide and distract Republicans rather than outsourcing a difficult task task to experts, Republicans have hired on loads of new problems for themselves. It is certainly true that it is a point of pride for senators in both parties to look upon all actions of the House with disdain when they look at them at all. But the select committee's work, which will begin on Tuesday, will have a significant consequence for Senate Republicans' hopes of regaining the majority next year, he adds. The efforts to establish an independent commission to investigate January 6 attacks died in the Senate after just 6 GOP senators joined with the Democrats, while 35 Republicans voted against it. According to Steyerwalt, Republicans who voted against the bipartisan committee either genuinely oppose additional inquest into the attack or too scared of a primary challenge to say otherwise. Or Susan Collins, thought he learned his lesson after the impeachment.
That's right.
That is not surprising. Again, a quote here, Dom. Once they talked themselves into voting against convicting then President Donald Trump for urging an angry mob to go to disrupt the business of the legislative branch, a commission to investigate the attack was sort of beside the point. They ate the frog first. They're not going to quibble about the garnish. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Who's next, Dom?
Let's go to Joe. You are first. Welcome, Joe. What do you got for us?
Hey, Joe.
I'm holding my head in my hands yet again as I look what is going to be ahead in this week. All kudos to Pelosi for pushing forward with this. It's absolutely essential. There was a quote from the Capitol Police, Director of Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, who said about this, this is going to happen again. If you don't investigate what happened, it's going to happen again. So let's investigate it. What I find fascinating is the idea that Mrs. Pelosi is responsible for this. I guess what stuns me about this is if you honestly thought that she was responsible for this, why would she be pushing for a commission to investigate it with herself at the head?
Well, a partisan commission to cover it up, of course, Joe.
Oh, yes, to cover it up, even though she's got these Republicans on there. And even if you look, just Google who is responsible for the Capitol Police. And the answer is the Capitol Police Board, a 4-member police board. That is who is responsible for the Capitol Police. It is the usual that causes people to hold their head in their hands and wish it weren't so. So all kudos to Pelosi for pushing this forward and just expected antics on the part of the Republicans.
Thanks, Joe. Nancy Pelosi, sort of a shrewd politician. Come back with us. More devil's advocates. More shrewd punditry.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
My party is going bat crazy.
Nazi party.
I grind hard.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
According to the Federalist Waller account being read into the congressional record by Ron Johnson, if this is just a small number of instigators and 100,000 true Trump-loving people Why did the Trumpsters stop the instigators? Why wouldn't you say, hey, they're not like us, let's stop those guys, instead of joining them and breaking into the U.S. Capitol?
I really believe I'd run into, even if I didn't have a weapon.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. Join us at 844-967-2789.
Dominic just published up at the Washington Post, at least an intriguing headline. Benny Thompson, the Democrat who represents Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District in the U.S. House, is chairman of the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol and chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. And he's got a new op-ed, and perhaps we'll get to this, Dom. We have started investigating the January 6th attacks on the Capitol, singular. Nothing will be off limits. No limits, Dom. 844-967-2789. Our only limit is Dom's imagination. Terry from Columbia Heights, welcome to the show. What do you got for us?
Hey, Terry.
Hi, guys. Listen, I've been driving along here listening. I had to pull over and just make a comment. First of all, in all the time Trump's been in office, when he first went in, he said, I'm president of the United States. I can do anything I want. And nobody's actually told him, no, you can't. And
well, perhaps Melania, but on less important issues.
Yeah. But I mean, Clinton couldn't do it. Nixon couldn't do it. None of the presidents could do it. Anything they wanted, and that's one thing that they could use. Now, I heard about you saying, when Bernstein said he's a war criminal. I personally believe that he was just trying to, in his own way, describe what he did. Because if you look at Trump's administration and you go back and you look at how Hitler came into power, I'm not going to say anything other than that. You'll find that our dear Cheetos Jesus is doing the same things basically that Hitler did when he went into power, and you know how that turned out. So I don't believe that we should be calling them Nazis, but at the same time, the Democrats need to grow some gonads and start really doing what the Republicans do and go after these guys. And I mean wholeheartedly, because they did try to overthrow our government. They did try to break laws. They have broken laws. We need to stand up to that, and if we don't do that, it's our own fault if we lose the election. I will never be anything but a Democrat, but we really need to get in there after them.
Well, Terry, you make some good points, although I think Mark stole some of your eunuch thunder earlier. I'd like to point out we got big old gonads around here, Dom. We try to speak truth each and every day on the radio, although some days are easier than Mondays. 844-967-2789. Next up, Joe from Reedsburg. Joe, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hello, Joe.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Excellent.
I got an easy way to get everybody to get vaccinated here. And the insurance companies would even love to do this. First thing the insurance companies do is say, you got until the end of August to get vaccinated. Starting September 1st, if you come down with COVID and you're vaccinated, we pay everything. No deductibles, no co-pays, nothing. We pay 100%, you're free and clear. But if you get COVID-19 and you're not vaccinated, we're not going to give you a penny.
I like the idea, Joe. Perhaps even better than that. I think it was Coleman from the Vikings that suggested if players get vaccinated, they should get a year's exemption from testing for marijuana use. Perhaps every employer could use that as an enticement of their employees. Do you think it would work for you, Joe?
I like it.
Joe, I assume you are vaccinated at this point?
Oh, yeah. As soon as I became eligible.
Joe, do you anticipate, as more and more employers and the fire department of New York, their union came out today pushing back against Mayor de Blasio's plan to force vaccinations of those first responders. Well, the union doesn't like it, Joe. And I think probably as a majority, most of the fire people are vaccinated, but there's always going to be some holdouts. Should you let the what did they call it? The fool's veto rule? I mean, do we let the minority basically continue to transmit out there without stop? I mean, I don't know, man. If Typhoid Mary was walking around and you knew it was Typhoid Mary, wouldn't you at least throw her in a hospital or make
but what about Typhoid
room?
Mary's individual rights? I mean, isn't that really the issue here, Joe, for those types?
Well, you're more concerned about Typhoid Karen's individual rights.
Oh, God.
But you know what I'm saying, Joe? If we knew you were a plague carrier, wouldn't we try to isolate you from society? I thought Fauci said over the course of the weekend or recently, polio would still be around if Fox News existed then.
Yeah, I want to be in an iron lung. Yippee.
Terrible.
I bet you they'd be advertising on Fox News, though. We're your iron lung manufacturing company. We got nothing but the best iron lungs for all
Mike
of you.
Lindell would run out a line of iron lungs for everybody and a pillow.
Literally, Fox News viewers are much less likely to be vaccinated. I saw this number. I think I snapped a picture of it. CNN reported this before. If you watch as your primary news source, CNN or MSNBC, and I would say if I'm flipping on the cable news at night, it's probably one of those two sources, more likely MSNBC, 83% likelihood that you've been vaccinated. Now, if you're a mainstream media watcher, if you like the big three, ABC, CBS, NBC, if that's where you get your news, a little less slanted, Dom, about 79% vaccination rate. But if you watch Fox News, you're about 20% lower. You're at 62%.
No stats for OAN or Newsmax?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Too small a sample size? Question mark. Is that you dropping stuff?
Yeah, sorry, man.
Kind of like the ratings dropping over at CNN. The media outlet you watch could determine whether or not you lived through this pandemic. If Hannity's your favorite, it's a chance you're going to die. And if you like Tucker, you probably should.
I'm not a fan of Tucker. I don't know if I told you that.
I've watched him occasionally. Not a big fan of Tucker. Sort of the petulant face he does, the over-exaggerated. Like when the guy in Montana said he's the worst human being ever. It kind of makes the face like a little kid does when you're trying to argue with the 3-year-old, makes the face at you. Well, that's Tucker's best trick. Sort of the quizzical face.
It's his go-to move, man. That's what he's known for.
Known for looking dumb?
Yes.
And misinforming the populace. And of course, a legal defense in a court of law, no reasonable human being would trust what Tucker Carlson is saying to be factual. He used that in a defamation suit successfully.
So if you're going to listen to Tucker, listen to what he says in legal pleadings under oath.
Tucker's lawyers say you cannot trust Tucker Carlson. And they're lawyers. Come back with us. The 4 o'clock happy hour commences right now.
And we want to see what we're doing wrong as a country where things like this can happen.
Do it now.
At Chad's Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bangstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and buy our Wove gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. On the city, state, and federal level, more Americans are being required to get vaccinated to defend against the Delta variant of the coronavirus. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
In California, Governor Gavin Newsom says it's no longer optional for government employees.
This is a requirement to prove you've been vaccinated.
Same deal in New York City. Mayor Bill de Blasio says either get the shots
or get tested once a week.
President Biden says the VA is now the first major federal agency requiring COVID-19 shots.
All docs working in facilities are going to have to be vaccinated.
Officials are encouraged vaccination rates are starting to rise again, offering hope those who were reluctant are changing their minds. Sagar Magani at the White House.
In several places, including Provincetown, Massachusetts, and Savannah, Georgia, mask orders are back in place. In St. Louis County in Missouri, Executive Sam Page says put on a mask.
We are among the first counties in the country to reinstate a mask mandate. So help us be one of the first counties in the country to eliminate this pandemic. If you haven't been vaccinated, please get your shot today.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo projected confidence he'll ultimately be exonerated of allegations of sexual harassment.
Facts trump, pardon the pun, ideology. And I am eager for the truth to come out here, and New Yorkers will be shocked.
Cuomo questioned the neutrality of the lawyers hired to investigate his behavior. President Biden says the U.S. military combat mission in Iraq will conclude by the end of the year. The plan is to shift the American military mission to a strictly advisory and training one. Stocks finished higher, the Dow up 82 points. This is AP News.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Staples Connect has everything you need for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, the TI-84 Plus CE Graphing Calculator is just $99.99. You save $55, our lowest price of the season. With savings like that, your student won't just be ready for school. They'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back to school today and get more than ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 8/1, limit 2 per customer, in store only.
Yeah, it's piracy. So many product prices are jacked up so high because of shortages. Piracy, I tell you, matey.
So keep your sights on Crazy Lenny's e-bikes. They have the low price reputation.
Low prices. We saw this coming 10 months ago. We started buying more bikes, 100 bike containers, so we could keep our low price image.
Shiver me timbers.
Give us an example.
E-bikes with 40-mile range, with disc brakes, with torque controller. Retail $1,900. Nope, not at my store, just $844.
$1,900 bike for $844? That is crazy.
Aye, matey. And we have 150 electric bikes on display on our ship.
$844 for quality e-bikes at Crazy Lenny's e-bike.
My store. I mean, my ship.
Raise the plank and hoist the sails. Set our course for Crazy Lenny's bosun. Crazy Lenny's e-bikes are down our road. Wisconsin is getting back to doing what it does best, enjoying themselves with friends and neighbors. If you're looking for a night out or kick-ass food, Johnny's Lounge in Beaver Dam is your place. Located at 519 Madison Street, right on the lake, Johnny's Lounge has a big patio with amazing views and a fun staff. Drink specials every night. Bar dice, flip cup, incredible burgers, kitchen open late, everything a Wisconsinite could want. Johnny's Lounge at Beaver Dam. It may not be possible to have too much fun, but we sure try.
In-person culinary dinner theater is back at Delectable. This is a signature event where the chef is the star, the wine experts and mixologists, the co-stars. You are the audience, and your palate, the judge. Chef Jake Lawler will treat you to an extraordinary multi-course feast paired perfectly with wine and spirits. Enjoy local, organic, and sustainable ingredients. It's Culinary Dinner Theater at Delectable, located within Von Foss on University Avenue. Reserve your seat now at delectablemadison.com.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your breaking news headlines. Today, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers called for a special session of the Wisconsin legislature to invest more in education funding. At the end of last week, Republican lawmakers stated they would enter into an extraordinary session this week in an attempt to override one of Governor Tony Evers' recent vetoes. Here is Governor Evers in a video announcement he made today calling for the special session.
If Republicans have time to come into session just to try and override my vetoes, then they sure as heck have time to come into session and to do what's best for our kids. So if they're going to come to Madison, then they have work to do. That's why I'm calling a special session of the legislature for tomorrow.
You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Kroot.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the Monday 4 o'clock happy hour, the Wisconsin edition, the Last Dance edition. Dom, we've got dueling special extraordinary sessions happening here in the great state of Wisconsin.
You know, last year couldn't get anybody to work, and now they can't help themselves.
The Republicans literally took nearly a year off, Dom. No legislative agenda whatsoever. And now they need an extraordinary session. Our friends over at WisPolitics reporting Assembly Republicans will try to override Governor Tony Evers' veto of legislation seeking to cut off enhanced federal unemployment benefits when the chamber convenes tomorrow. So the unemployment, Republicans claim that, effectively, people are too lazy to get off their couches and go back to work because, they get $300 a week. So therefore, it's Tony's job to cut them off. And Republicans have endeavored to do so. And Tony Evers obviously vetoed that bill. And Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce said, you boys get back there and you stick it to Tony one more time. So that's exactly what Republicans intend to do, according, again, to WisPolitics. Meanwhile, Evers wants lawmakers to approve $550 million for K through 12 and higher ed while they're in the Capitol, calling a special session tomorrow to coincide with the veto override attempt. So the Republicans declare we're going to have an extraordinary session. And Evers said, well, if you're coming to work anyways, why don't you consider actually properly funding the educational system? The K through 12.
So is this an extraordinary special session?
It's extraordinarily special. Yes. Assembly org this afternoon circulated a ballot adding AB 336 to the extraordinary session used last month to take up the budget and several other bills. The enhanced benefits of $300 a week are set to expire in early September. The legislature isn't scheduled to be in regular session again until September 28th. Well, that won't do, Dom. As word spread on Friday that the assembly planned to come in, speculation immediately turned to the enhanced unemployment benefits bill. Minority Leader Gordon Hintz, who I saw at a recent ball game, tweeted on Friday that Assembly Dems would uphold the veto. That was the one thing the Democrats did. I didn't find it a very compelling sort of strategery, but their strategic plan was effectively to keep enough Dems in the Assembly and the Senate that they could prevent the overriding of Evers' vetoes.
Yeah, I guess that was my
mission
my
accomplished.
thought. Well, I mean, and assuming all the Dems react and vote in lockstep, the Republicans don't have the numbers needed to override an Evers veto. And I would just suggest this, Republicans, since you're so concerned about employment and people working. Well, number one, the unemployment levels are pretty decent right now. I mean, we're actually, aren't we yet like pre-COVID numbers right now? Statewide,
we're at like 3.8, 3.9%.
Okay, so maybe slightly
Dane
ahead.
County at like 3.1%.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's almost full employment. So here's what I would suggest. While you're going to get together and try to, go through this game of an override that you're not going to get, maybe you should, I don't know, pass a bill to increase the minimum wage. Huh? There you go. I mean, $7.25 an hour for the last 12 years, $7.25 an hour. It has not moved. The minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. You want to make some changes? Do you want to have an impact, Republicans? Raise the minimum wage, $15 an hour.
Well, here's the good news, Dom. You talk about nearly full employment here in the state of Wisconsin. The minimum wage becoming a secondary issue, at least in the now sense, because nobody's going back to work for $7.25 an hour. And employers are finding they're having to pay a higher wage to get people motivated to come back to work. But for those willing to pay that wage, they're finding workers.
Weird how that happens. These are Republicans claim to be economic masters, right? They're all about the business. Well, supply and demand. It's very simple. If you want more supply, you got to increase the wages, and they will come back to work.
But of course, the Republicans want to blame it on the unemployment insurance, Dom. The $300 a week. No wonder why the entire state of Wisconsin is soft and lazy, according to Republicans.
Yeah.
Unlike their hardworking asses that took like 9 or 10 months off during a pandemic, right?
Well, I mean, governance is hard.
But there are other states that have actually accomplished this Republican goal, this austerity towards the unemployed, and have cut off the benefits. And you know what they found in studies of those states, Dom? No big impact. Meaning all you did is punish people unnecessarily. You didn't increase the number of workers. You didn't make more people come back to work because most people want to work. I mean, ultimately, if you can make a little bit of money on unemployment, keeps you from starving. But most people want to work. Given the alternative, they'd like a well-paying job. Maybe a few benefits, a couple days off, trip to Cancun once a summer with the cruises, right? That's what the American dream was kind of shaped around. But if you can't even afford the cheapest one-bedroom apartment in the city you live in, and nowhere in America can you afford an apartment if you're making the $7.25 federal minimum wage. But it has become a worker's climate, Dom. I mean, even my son who was working at McDonald's, very first job, 14 years old, making minimum wage or very close to it. And then figured out, you know what? I don't have to work at McDonald's anymore. There are local restaurants hiring in Middleton where we live, paying $7.25 an hour plus tips. It's a lot better than $2.31 an hour. And if you work in the kitchen, well, they give you additional dollars above and beyond that. So, the kid made like $60 in tips on Saturday. He ain't going back to McDonald's, not for $7.25 an hour.
Oh, no.
I'm just pointing out, even the youngest, the unsophisticated workers, those in the entry-level jobs, those are just for teenagers in high school.
What's the motivation here, right? So WMC is putting the screws to the Republicans to have them go back and do this, override the veto that will presumably fail because the Republicans don't have the numbers to do it, right? Above and beyond that, as you mentioned, when these kinds of things were done in other states, it did not show a huge increase in employment, right? So that means those jobs still remain unfilled. And all they're doing, as you mentioned, is sticking it to those who are unemployed that are, benefiting from this expanded unemployment insurance, right? So what exactly are they trying to accomplish? I mean, for real, this is only going to give them some sort of talking point, and this thing expires in like 5 weeks anyway. I mean, and it's not like this money is going to go back to the state coffers. You know what I mean? The $300 a week that Wisconsinites might be getting, if they no longer get that money, it's not going to go to the state and go into that bank account. It just doesn't get received. So and when it goes, if we also further don't take the money, I'm not sure that the federal government's going to take it back and buy some government bonds back with it that are out there. I mean, this money is already allocated. It's essentially spent. So what is the upside for the Republicans? Well, there's only one, and that's the political messaging / talking point. That's it. It's not about getting people to work. It's not about saving money for the state. It's not about saving money for the federal government. It's about Republicans trying to stick it politically to Governor Tony Evers for accepting the federal money and doling it out as required.
How dare he?
Right?
The other thing is, if you can't find childcare for your kids, you can't go back to work, not in a full-time capacity. You can be on unemployment and still working part-time up to, I believe, 32 hours a week. So anyways, and
they adjust it based on your wages on your part-time work. It's not a full, it's a scaled back to my understanding. But yeah, obviously when you have lots of people who reset and reevaluate after a COVID, after a pandemic like this, perhaps, taking care of their children is priority. Perhaps, working at a job where you are appreciated and actually making some money is also a priority. Perhaps the Republicans should focus some of their legislation on those types of things.
Dominic, according to CNBC, 25 states have ended all or some federal benefits paid to the unemployed, including an extra $300 a week. Louisiana will do so later this month. This article actually published 4 days ago. According to CNBC, states said the benefits were keeping people from looking for work, and critics claim COVID-related factors may instead be sidelining workers. And the first states to withdraw support did not see a jump in jobs in the weeks following their withdrawal, according to an analysis by an economics professor at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. State withdrawals from pandemic-era unemployment programs aren't speeding up the job recovery, according to a new analysis. Talked about the 25 states. Dominic, state governors, largely Republican, said the federal funds were keeping recipients from looking for jobs, making it harder for businesses to hire and holding back the economic recovery. However, Census Bureau data suggests recipients didn't rush to find jobs in the week following the first batch of state withdrawals, according to, again, the University of Massachusetts Amherst study. Specifically, the share receiving unemployment benefits fell sharply by about 2.2% in a dozen states that cut federal funding on June 12th or 19th, according to Dubé, that's The Economist. That translates to a 60% reduction in unemployment rolls in those states, but there wasn't a corresponding increase in employment amongst this group. In fact, the share of adults with a job fell by 1.4 percentage points over the same period. Dominic, some people apparently were using that federal stimulus to pay for, let's call it, childcare so they could work at a job. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls as well. 844-967-2789. Make a deal with the devil. Come back.
Ever since I started working, every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it.
And how long have you worked for Senator Ron Johnson?
I'm not going to work here anymore anyway.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Hey, what's going on? Oh, didn't you hear? Knuckleheads is moving locations, but not to worry. Knuckleheads will still be on State Street and your best shop for CBD and wellness. And it's going to be at 520 State Street on ground level, which is 100% handicap accessible. Stop by the new digs from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. any day of the week and get 15% off when you mention Devil Radio. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there at our new location, 520 State Street.
Extra, extra!
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Stream Progressive News and Talk 24/7, as well as download exclusive podcasts and interviews at devilradio927.com. That's devilradio927.com.
I've already guaranteed this will be my last term. I'm doing this because I want to solve these problems.
Was it problem solving when you blocked COVID relief or when you downplayed the insurrection?
I want to do it because I'm so concerned about the direction of this country. I've got something to offer.
Like becoming a hydroxychloroquine salesman?
I'll go home, smile on my face, realizing I'd left it all on the field.
You must be exhausted.
6 years from now, I'll for sure be going home.
We'll hold you to your word, Senator. Go home.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
From Baraboo to Horicon, WTTN 1580 AM is News Talk Radio built for the 99%. Rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open for your take, as always, at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, what's the kerfluffle going on over in Whitefish Bay?
I know, man. The Bay making the news, baby. Of course, my little village that I reside in, all over the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel today. Let's throw this one out there. Mary Spacuzza, Eddie Morales. A sign addressing systemic racism was recently removed from the Whitefish Bay Public Library grounds following vocal criticism from some in the community, including former Milwaukee Bucks player Steve Novak. The sign, which was placed in a rock garden display outside the library of by Bay Bridge, Wisconsin, a group that focuses on raising awareness of racial and cultural bias in our community, described its vision for the North Shore suburb. And here's what Bay Bridge, Wisconsin.
It is a
signed.
Very offensive statement.
Here we go.
To some.
Might want to, watch the kids. We'll give you a second.
Brace yourself.
Yes. Here we go. Here's
earmuffs if necessary.
Bay Bridge, Wisconsin's little sign said outside the library. Whitefish Bay will be a welcoming community.
You take that back.
That recognizes systemic racism and actively works to address and dismantle it. How will you be a bridge in helping to repair and build a more equitable community?
I can see where the problem stems from.
Yeah, that's the entirety. That's it. Emails sent to library staff, which were obtained by the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel through a public records request, show some residents were offended by the sign and its message. About a half dozen residents,
that's like
six people. One who said she was a library benefactor wrote to complain. Others complained in person at the library records show. The controversy over the sign comes during a national debate over critical race theory, which centers on the idea that racism is systemic, that racial inequality is woven into many American systems and institutions, causing disparities and perpetuating the oppression of people of color. Critics, including many conservatives, argue that it's a divisive approach that pits people of color against white people. Here is a quote. There is an offensive sign posted in front of the public library that incorrectly generalizes our community. It says that Whitefish Bay recognizes systemic racism. Novak, who works as an analyst for the Bucks on Bally Sports Wisconsin, wrote in a June 8th email to Naima Reed, the library's director. Novak goes on to write, "What group has taken the liberty of speaking for our community in such a hateful, damaging, and inaccurate way?" Novak,
Steve Novak is this former Milwaukee Buck, former Marquette Warrior, I guess, probably Golden Eagles, whatever they call them now. But I mean, he's associated with the NBA, and the Milwaukee Bucks have just made a big deal, at least in the bubble season, of the Black Lives Matter. So you wonder.
They sat out a game, I think, after the George Floyd protests.
I do recall they did, Dom. So, there's no systemic racism. There's nothing Whitefish Bay could do better. Didn't they used to call that community White Folks Bay?
They still refer to it as White Folks Bay for lots of reasons. A little more here. Cody Novak, who played for Brown Deer High School, Marquette University, and various NBA teams before playing for the Bucks in 16 and 17, added, "What is the approval process for posting a sign like that?" The following morning, Reed wrote back to Novak and other critics and told them the sign would be taken down and a new sign policy was being drafted. She wrote that in light of the level of inquiry about the Bay Bridge sign, the decision has been made to remove it.
Six people?
I will bring forward a potential sign policy for the library board of trustees to review at a future meeting to codify potential standards and content of future signs, such as school plays or co-sponsors of programming. Novak answered. Again, this is the guy that works for the Bucks, right? Lives in my village at the Whitefish Bay. Here's his reply. "Thank you for your response. Groups that are trying to indoctrinate our community and our children as they go to the library are shameful. Disinformation is the abuse of power." Novak did not respond to requests for an interview from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
He's too busy burning some books.
I want definitive proof that this guy actually tried to walk into the library and saw that, and I want to know exactly what book he was planning on reading or checking out that day.
Dominic, I'll pick this up. Some who wrote to the library to raise concerns about the sign, I mean, we're talking about half a dozen people here, said they had never witnessed racism in Whitefish Bay.
No.
The white people never saw the racism in White Folks Bay, Dom.
What?
So anyways, a little bit more here if I can get to it. I can't believe, though, the level of inquiry. We're talking about a half a dozen people. I mean, we get more people offended each and every day on the radio, Dom. Whitefish Bay, a community of 14,000 people, it's made up of 84% white residents, according to the 19 census. Here's a quote, Tom. "I watch my children play with and grow to be friends with everyone and love their color blindness.
Yeah.
I take credit for that, as I've done decades of volunteer work and donated tens of thousands of dollars to many charities, including your library. And the last I looked, my name was still in the lobby," says Betsy Trimble. Well, that's the advantage of wealth, Dom.
Oh, Betsy.
You give some money,
Yeah.
and then you get to brag about it. What are you going to do about it? "I'm displeased, and I gave you money."
Betsy's middle name might be Karen.
So imagine my disappointment and sadness to read your divisive sign that you put on our lawn. When you say it's our time,
Your
Mr.
time,
Hand,
it's my time, make it our time.
Trimble added that she lived in the community all her life and never met a racist person in Whitefish Bay. "I'm so happy that decades of friendships in Whitefish Bay have led me to people like myself who don't see race, color, or economics. Truthfully, I've yet to meet a racist in all the years I've lived here. Just the opposite."
So what? Okay, so we acknowledge systemic racism. Racism in the institutions obviously was here. We had slavery for a very long time. My question to Becky and Mr. Novak is, when exactly did systemic racism end?
Well, when Whitefish Bay became a utopia, Dom, I think about the time you moved there. Come back with us. We got a fine guest. He brought beer. He's Kirk Bangstad, Minocqua Brewing Company. We'll catch up with Kirk next.
Reading is good.
If there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that learning things never taught me nothing, and books is the worst.
Diversity and diversity.
You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. That's pretty cool.
Hi, this is Cody with Go Landscaping. We do full yard installs, retaining walls, and certified dry stone masonry. Let us turn your dream for an outdoor living space into a reality. Go Landscaping is still taking on new commercial and residential lawn care for this summer, or let us bid your snow removal for fall. Find us at golandscapings.com. Again, that's golandscapings.com.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. for ideas, guests, and conversation on Devil Radio.
Hey everyone, Jason Hafman here, your host of Let's Get Local, the Dane by Local radio show. Catch us Saturdays at 11 a.m. right here on Devil Radio 92.7.
Infrastructure traffic jam. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he wants the Senate to act this week on the nearly $1 trillion infrastructure bill or face the chance of being in Washington rather than heading home in August.
Senators should be on notice that the Senate may stay in session through the weekend in order to finish the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And as I've said before, further delays may mean that the Senate will remain in session into the previously scheduled August recess.
The negotiations are hung up over money for public transportation, water projects, and other issues. Recent AP and ORC poll finds 80% of those questioned favor some increased infrastructure spending. California man armed with an automatic-style rifle and a handgun is thought to have shot and killed his two sons and their mother before he killed a sheriff's SWAT team member and wounded another. He was shot and killed while firing at the officers from the roof of a home near Bakersfield yesterday. I'm Tim McGuire, AP News.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Staples Connect has everything you need for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, the TI-84 Plus CE Graphing Calculator is just $99.99. You save $55, our lowest price of the season. With savings like that, your student won't just be ready for school. They'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back to school today and get more than ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 8/1, limit 2 per customer, in store only.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The developer chosen for the $175 million Judge Doyle Square project in downtown Madison is now seeking to hand off another key piece of the redevelopment to a different developer. Realtor Real Estate Services of Chicago is looking to transfer the development rights for the hotel aspect of the Judge Doyle Square project to Mortensen Development based out of Minneapolis. The Madison City Council will need to take several actions to approve the transfer. The Wisconsin legislature is considering a bipartisan proposal that would expand which businesses could allow dogs to accompany their owners on shopping trips. Current laws bar all businesses that sell food from allowing dogs on site, but allow exemptions for outdoor seating at restaurants, breweries, and coffee shops. This bill would expand where owners could bring their dog with to include retail businesses. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I like to point when I do that. And I welcome back. He's a friend. He's a sponsor. He's Kirk Bangstad. He is from the Minocqua Brewing Company. Kirk, you came bearing beer.
Yeah, man. I figured
Best sort of guest.
I haven't bestowed on you one of the latest versions of beer we have, which is Evers Ale. I would have given you Tammy Shandy, but oh my God, we got problems in the beer world.
Oh,
what kind of problems, man? You're starting to scare me a little bit, Kirk.
There's a short. Oh my God. Like everything, I think the COVID really messed up the supply chain of lots of things, and so not only are there a shortage of aluminum cans right now, which has brewers scrambling. there's a shortage of lemon extract as well. So our lemon extract didn't come in, and so you can't really make a shandy without a little lemon extract. So it's going to be a week from now, and I told all 46,000 people that like me on Facebook that it was going to get delivered this week, and I'm eating crow.
How's that hat, man?
Some crow with some candy shandy, it would probably wash it down nicely. Now, here in the upper Midwest in Madison, it's hot as hell outside. It's 92.7 fun 11 degrees, but the beers are cold. And the Evers Ale here, made with science and a steady hand. It's a pale ale.
Can I do a close reading of?
Yeah,
wait.
please
So
do.
you've drank the beer. I know you drink Captain and Coke. Hoppy beers are not your favorite. Let's be honest. I can understand that.
I'm not a huge beer guy, but I love the politics behind the beers.
So let's do the close reading of the Evers Ale. Dom, do you have a picture of this somewhere that you can look at?
I do not.
Okay. Well,
I'll pull it up. Go ahead.
Okay. So made with science and a steady hand. So we've got Evers with his iconic face mask on, because obviously that's what all his emergency things. We're talking about that. Then we have the School of Public Health is the tallest building in UW-Madison on the science side. We've got the School of Biology, Chemistry, and Math all the way around the can. And it's red signifying UW-Madison, and it's red signifying the intense obstruction that our blue-shirted Governor Evers had to go through in order to drive the bus of the Badger Bounce Back Plan, which is the steering wheel of on the can.
And I've noted the representation of Tony Evers. That's post cool guy haircut and the new glasses, because he did go through sort of a style update during his candidacy prior. This is the cooler haircut.
You haven't you run for governor against Tony Evers at some point?
I never had a cool haircut, Kirk. Not in years.
I'm waiting for the Crudy makeover, man.
And nobody made any beer for me, although I keep asking.
Hey, by the way, I just saw today there is a Devil's Advocate triple Belgian beer out there already. I can't even make one for you guys because there's already a Devil's Advocate beer.
Oh,
and
really?
It's triple Belgian. It's apparently fabulous. Probably better than I can make.
Oh, don't even say that. I thought we were going to do some sort of red ale for us.
Well, it's possible, but it can't be called the Devil's Advocate. That name is already taken.
Diamond Crute, get you drunk beer.
Come on. The Devil's Advocate's terminology has been used for centuries, man. I mean, I can't go trademark Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, but you can also, I mean, can I really name another beer completely? I have to say Devils with like an apostrophe or something to get around this. I think I got to come up with something more creative.
We do use an apostrophe.
Sometimes
you don't have to make it up. It's Devils, possessive, Devils, Advocates, plural.
But it's a possessive plural. It's English, Kirk. I don't know if you'd understand that as a brewer.
I think it's gonna have to have a playoff of Dom and Crute. I think that's what's gonna have to happen.
All right. Well, we'll take. Hey, you know us, man. We'll take anything we can get. Folks are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Kirk Bangstad, Minocqua Brewing Company, joining us in the Madison studio.
The mustard man didn't have so many excuses. Then just mustard.
Right. So, Kirk, man, what's going on in the political world? I know you got a pack. You've been partying. You've been collecting money. You've been doing some good trouble. What you been getting into, man?
All of the above. The thing I'm working on right now is there's this group called Wisconsin Progress, and they are a great group that train and recruit people to progressives to run for county boards, which is kind of like building the bench. So that these people who have run and won at the county level can like step up and then run for state office at some point. And it's really crucial work that's not being done in up north. And that's why, every time people have, every time the elections come up, we got to pluck somebody out from, anywhere just to run against these Republicans who are sure to win because the numbers are skewed, but we don't have a bench. So that's my new campaign, is to raise $40,000 to kind of like do part of the base salary. It's like, of a community organizer that's going to like help us recruit and train people how to run for county board. So that's what the super PAC is up to right now.
Now, Kirk, is that specifically for like counties up north, or where's your target areas for this?
So it's north of Wausau, because they already have somebody there, and because Wausau is a Marathon County is a big county, so it's all the forgotten counties north, like Langlade, Lincoln, Oneida, Vilas, like Price and Iron, which are God's country, but it's about as red as it gets.
Now, what about when you focus on these counties, and I guess as far as a return on investment, let's put it that way. I mean, some of these counties do not have a lot of people in them, Kirk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Langlade County, I don't have it in front of me, but is not one of the larger counties.
It's like
in the state.
So we're talking like Merrill, Anago, Rhinelander, and like Hurley would be those would be the cities we're talking about, the more heavily populated places. And yeah, you're right. The return on investment is not necessarily as good as but as where there currently is action happening, like the suburbs of Milwaukee and Madison. But because that's where the Democratic Party typically puts all their resources, and they unfortunately have like left us hanging for a long time. And since I'm in that region and I'm selling beer and that's kind of where I care about, that's what I'm focused on. And I have a different of opinion. I think you guys probably do too. It's like, I want to play offense in red areas. I don't want to play defense and hope to hang on to like suburbs close to Madison or Milwaukee as a Democrat, as a statewide Democrat.
A veto-proof minority. It's not a compelling statement for you, Kirk.
Yeah, let's like cower and hope for a veto. Yeah, exactly. That veto-proof minority is like, Jesus, guys, come on. Like, we can do better than this, And so,
well, but I get that, and I totally appreciate what you're saying. And I think you're right. That's a great perspective, going on offense in these red counties. And Crudy and I'll go and do a show and have a drink anywhere, and I'll go up north, and I'm fine with it. But Iron County's got like less than 6,000 people in the entire county.
I'm really focused on Rhinelander and Minocqua because that's where I'm from. And so I understand that hiring somebody, a full-time organizer, and the county boards, there's more counties to be covered. So I kind of want those ancillary ones to be covered too, if we're going to be donating all this money. And honestly, though, when you say there's not that many people, how much clean water is up there that's getting crapped on because of county boards voting to let mining companies in. So it's not just about people, it's about the natural resources of Wisconsin. And that is huge in northern Wisconsin. And there's the mouth of the Fox River is like being as they're drilling for, just these crazy chemicals. I can't remember I can't remember where they are because it's been a long time since I ran, but it's nasty stuff and they're being mined. And so that is the reason you have to, build a progressive bench too. It's not just about the population, it's about the natural resources.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I got the Minocqua Brewing Company proprietor. He's the man. He's Kirk Bangstad. He also with the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC, and we appreciate your partnership here, Kirk. And I got to tell you, I think Tony's getting his revenge. Kind of gave me the hiccups this Evers Ale.
I know. I sat there looking at you.
I'm going to get a little hurly.
I sat there looking at you swallowing the hiccups because you don't want to make noise on the radio. I was like, oh, that must be rough.
I'm not a beer guy. I got to admit it. Apparently can't handle my pale ale. Kirk, you got a party going on tomorrow in one of my favorite parts of the state over in Trempealeau in the La Crosse area. Tell us about that party, Kirk.
Yeah. So we squeaked out all the lemon extract that we could to make one keg of Tammy Shandy because I met with this wonderful woman called Amy who owns the Trempealeau Hotel, which if you haven't been, you got to go.
Nearly world famous, the Trempealeau
Right?
Hotel.
Have you been there?
I actually used to work for ABC in La Crosse. I covered lots of stuff. Ettrick, Trempealeau. I went all of those little towns up the river.
Well, Trempealeau, they got this great outdoor venue. They've got all these famous musicians that have played there over like the last 100 years. And it's a fabulous place. And she is huge into, she's a big progressive. And she's like, we got to have this big release party for Tammy Shandy. So as soon as I said, sure, she went out and started advertising for it, spent her own money, and is bringing in all these progressives tomorrow. So I'm like, we cannot not have Tammy Shandy for her. So we got a half barrel. We're bringing it up tomorrow, and we're gonna drink. And I'm spending a night in the famous Trumpelow Hotel tomorrow. So Wednesday might be a rough morning for me, I think.
Better at the Trumpelow Hotel than like the
Bates
floor.
Motel.
Because I recall when you invited me up to Minocqua initially, you said, well, you know, you could probably sleep on a floor. And I said, I'm getting a little old for floor sleeping, Kirk.
It's because I was getting kicked out of my apartment, or kicked out of my house. I
are
couldn't guarantee a place to
troublemaker.
stay.
You're getting sued, and so somebody else. You were telling me about it. The Lakeland County News, whatever it is suing you for defamation. And then they're also suing some other small business in town because that name had some association with you for a couple months. So they're also being sued.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
What'd they do?
Oh, so this is exactly
Guilt
what
by
it is. So
association,
it's the
Kirk.
Lakeland Times, and it's the misogynist publisher of the Lakeland Times. Greg
Allegedly
Walker.
misogynist publisher. Don't want to get named in that suit, but please continue.
So that's one of the reasons I'm getting sued, is that I always Trumpify it by saying the alleged misogynist publisher of the Lakeland Times, which he doesn't like very much. And what's happening is I sold the building to the Minocqua Brewing Company. Thank God, during COVID, when restaurants' backs were against the wall, and I sold the building. And in order to hire back all my old employees, which he wanted to do, he asked if he could keep my name and then apply for the PPP loan, the second round, which was happening in like February. And I was like, of course, because you're going to rehire all these people I had to lay off. And so you deserve that money because you're basically taking over my operations as a restaurant. So he had the Minocqua Brewing Company stock, which was like the EIN number for the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. And he applied for the loan, got the loan, hired all my workers back. And because he had my name, when I got named in the lawsuit, my lawyer was like, called the Lakeland Times lawyer, like, you've accidentally, caught up this innocent dude in your lawsuit. And they didn't care. They didn't release this guy from the lawsuit. And so I'm making a big stink out of that, because I'm like, there's a local paper in Minocqua who is now suing 2 small businesses for defamation, which the only way a newspaper exists, and radio stations, I might add, is because of the First Amendment to free speech. And so they want to suppress my speech. It's crazy.
That's Kirk Bangstad. He's an alleged friend of the Devil's Advocates. But not super close, more of an acquaintancy kind of friendly business kind of guy.
Wait, who is this?
Kirk Bangstad from the Minocqua Brewing Company. Careful who you associate with. You could get sued. Kirk, appreciate the Evers Ale. Looking forward to the Tammy Shandy. That's more my flavor. I always like the lemony summer shandy beers. That's my taste.
You're a sweet soul.
Hardly gives me hiccups at all, I hear. Kirk, thanks so much. If people want to buy some beer, some swag, or support the Super PAC, how did they do so?
MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. You can donate to the Super PAC, buy the swag, or we got a map of all the locations of where you can buy the beer as well now up on the website.
Awesome.
Drink the beer, buy the beer, and be friendly. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, less lawsuits in our final segment.
So you guys want to drink? What are we drinking? A beer, tequila?
Sometimes I had too many beers.
Holy mackerel, folks.
Chad's Design Build is proud to sponsor the Summer of Love on Devil Radio. We are committed to our community to demand better for each and every person. Doing the right thing isn't necessarily easy or inexpensive, but when we take the time to listen and learn, we can build a better community. Thoughtful remodeling is a lot like building an effective, progressive coalition. It takes patience, intelligence, and love. Experience helps too. Thank you, Joe Biden, and thank you, Devil Radio. On behalf of Chad's Design Build, here's to the Summer of Love.
You feeling stressed or anxious, trying to figure out this new world? Maybe just feeling sore after all that summer yard work? You should come try Knuckleheads. With a new location at 520 State Street, Knuckleheads has the best CBD and wellness products Madison has to offer. Come talk to a friendly neighborhood Knucklehead today and see if CBD works for you. You can call the shop at 608-284-0151 or check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com, with any questions. And I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there at our new location, 520 State Street. Yeah!
This is Rocker. I'm sitting on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash, and I'm enjoying a floral-forward Manhattan called As Long as There's Whiskey. It features Rocker Rye whiskey with a hint of blueberry, a touch of smoky Amaro, and it's finished off with St. Germain. It's a Rocker Rye Manhattan at Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston. Ask for it by name, As Long as There's Whiskey. You can also enjoy Rocker Spirits at the Wisco and Tiny's Tap on Willie Street. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Do you want Wisconsin to suck? I don't. That's why you're listening to me now. I'm Hawk, owner of Hawk's Bar and Grill. Come to Hawk's on State and tell them you're there because the devil sent you. Then I can spend more money on ads and help Devil Radio keep Wisconsin from spiraling into post-apocalyptic Republican suckage. I mean, that's Iowa's job. Buy a round of Hawks and save Wisconsin one drink at a time.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
Ass, grass, or cash. Nobody rides for free. Dom and Crute are the devil's advocates.
Got my chips cashed in.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, pick up the phone, hit us up right now. Toll free, talk or text, except you, George, 844-967-2789.
Dominic Kirk Bangstad brought me sort of a mixed six. You know, got some Evers Ale, got some Fair Maps beer in there. So, you know, I appreciate that. I always love when the guests come beer and beer. Or we,
the best
but in
guest.
this case, beer. Beer's good. You know, we are still Wisconsinites. 844-967-2789. And we love when the good folks from Wisconsin, they listen, they participate. We're going to them now. Walter from Watertown. Welcome, Walter. What do you got for us?
Hey, Walter.
Well, I want to thank you guys for this afternoon. It was wonderful. We just came back from a week in Winona, Minnesota, which is very blue and laid back. And we're back in Watertucky. And oh yes. And you know, you had the segment on just a little bit ago about Whiteface Bay. And I thought, maybe we ought to move there. You know, there's no racists, right? And,
right, man.
You know, they proliferate here, and they're proud of it. You know, Trump signs everywhere, Trump 2024, and Gadsden flags all over the place. And which, by the way, we didn't see one of either of those flags in Winona. And it's a city about 3,000, 4,000 people more than Watertucky.
Walter, did you guys take the river road? Did you go up 12?
Actually, we took the train.
Oh, very
carbon
lovely.
footprints lower. Yeah, carbon footprints lower. So that's what we do. And it was a wonderful place to be. And we're thinking of relocating there because we just can't stand Wisconsin anymore.
Well, here's the problem, though, Walter. You cross that river, bar time, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
You go to Mingles or something in Winona, dude, and the party's over way before I want it to be.
Yeah, well, I think I'm quite a bit older than you guys, so you know, the metabolism is slower than it used to be.
More of a happy hour guy, huh, Walter?
Happy hour for me ends about 5 o'clock.
Well, you better get after it then, man.
I'm going to put Walter down for day drinker. Walter, thanks for listening. Thanks for calling in. Gonna keep moving down the phones at 844-967-2789. Here's a party dude from Dodge County, Andy from Beaver Dam. How you doing, Andy?
Hey, Andy.
Well, I usually talk about the weather or sports, but today I'm going to talk about Mr. Bourne, 39th Assembly District. It's time for Wisconsin to stop paying people to not work. The only trouble is Wisconsin's not paying. It's the feds that are paying. And, you know, it's like until people can make a living wage, they probably are, you know, 15 plus, they're not going to take and, you know, jump at some job that's only going to pay whatever, you know.
Andy, you told me that your son has carried on your family business. When you were doing the installs, what'd you have to pay a worker to get them to come on and be competent? Do their job with aplomb and skill.
Well, I must admit I was pretty much of a one-man show. But now, if you had somebody, you should be paying them in this part of the country. Should be paying him probably $22 an hour. If he knows what he's doing. And so yeah, it's and well, we do have trouble finding. My son right now could use a guy, no problem. But I'm going to have to go out and help him on the weekend, even with my walker, so that we can get something done. A lot of repair work, but Walter, like Walter says, when you go north of Watertown, it doesn't get any more. It gets worse as far as Trump signs. I mean, my God, there's guys you can't even see the guy's front door because he's got so many Trump signs in his yard.
That's so weird, Andy.
But
it is.
It's a good warning, though, Andy, and we appreciate you listening and calling. When someone shows you their colors, believe them and stay away. No ding dong ditch, no going trick or treating, no borrowing a cup of sugar. You just stay away.
See, I have a different take on all those people with the ridiculous amount of Trump signs still up right now. I think, how like when the Super Bowl, the team that loses has a bunch of shirts and they ship them off to third world countries like that. Like that's what I assume that they got. They just got a bunch of loser stuff. And then, I get to decorate my house with loser things because it's on a discount.
Well, and if it's free, it's for me and I'll take 3.
Go Chiefs. 844-967-2789. Next up, Dick from Madison. Welcome back, Dick. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dick.
Hey, did you guys say something about George from Minocqua?
Well, there's a George. I don't know where he's from, but he's a hell of a trolling texter.
I think. But anyway, I had a quick drink at the Monkey this afternoon, and I'm talking to a guy that's from Minocqua, and he says, "Oh my gosh, it's so cool." He lives down by the Catholic parish down there, St. Maria Goretti. And he says, the nuns still are in all, and I said, well, they have a habit of that.
Damn, that's a long way to go for a nun joke, Dick, but I admire it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, okay. But did you hear the stupidity of Trump this weekend with the LeBron James stuff?
Well,
oh my God.
I missed the specific reference to LeBron James, but I know he was particularly addled, Dick. But what was your opinion?
Well, he's so out there now that I can't even. But I mean, he's talking about LeBron being transgender, as I understood him. And
are you sure he wasn't trying to call him a transistor?
Well, transistor. He's just checking off the culture war check boxes, Dick. Thanks for the call, man. I'm not clear if the man even knows what he's talking about, if he ever did. Wisco Paul, you're next. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Come on, Rudy went as transgender there for a while. Wisco.
All right. Good afternoon, Devils. A good show today. Hey, at this point, even if Pelosi and company find Trump guilty for January 6th, I don't think any of these people are going to take their Trump signs down. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'm not doing it as a Trump sign contest. I'm looking for criminal referrals.
Looking for justice, Wisco.
That's what I'm looking for. But it doesn't go. Even if they convict him, they're not going to take their signs down. They're just like, what's the guy in the South there that had people drink the Kool-Aid? And
Jim Jones.
Even shot a congressman. Yeah, there you go. I guess that's the closest thing I could relate to. All right, thanks. Good show today, Devils.
Thanks, Alex Jones. He's a close relative, right? Thank you, Wisco. Pizza Box, no time for you. Sorry, man. Want to thank our fine guest, Kirk Bangstad. Thanks for joining us from the Minocqua Brewing Company. Now stick around, our pal Earl Ingram. Hope he's drinking a Evers Pale Ale.
See you tomorrow. It's time to get to work.
RELAX.
You done messed up, AA Ron!
Welcome to Family Feud on Max Inc. Radio. I'm your host, Rob Roberts. Rocker, we asked 100 Madisonians, what is the favorite part of MagSync Radio?
Oh,